Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. It's a Tuesday night. Marc Dantonio from MUFON is here to teach us what it's like to stare up at the stars and actually see something that's not a star, not a satellite, not SpaceX, not the ISS, and definitely not Venus. Can't wait to get Marc on here momentarily. But the best part about tonight, outside of Marc and his classic goatee, we do have all of you here tonight. We have Tip Mothman and his goatee in the gold medal position. Laura Lobbs with the silver. Race fan taking home the bronze medal tonight. Hi, James Horn and Jenny White Bear. How are you? Andrew the trucker. Can't wait to see you in a few days in Nebraska. Yeah, going to Nebraska in 2 days. It's kind of cool. John P. Adventures is here. John P. Adventures will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Hi, Cosmic Joe, Brown Dwarf, Eternity Eternal, Lee the Bee, and Les Paul Holland rocking out in Australia. Thank you for joining us as we continue on with our roll call tonight. Mama Catherine, mwah, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mama Catherine. Happy birthday to you. Can't wait to see you in Reno. I'll give you the big birthday hug when we get there, my dear, in just a couple of weeks. I love you. Thank you for being an important person in my life. And there's Dirty Filth hopping on in. And let's see, who else do we have here? We have Ginger Turtle, Major Lee, Zed Hut, and who else? T-Bone, my man. Thank you for the great photos of all your SOR swag today. Very much appreciate it. And because of that, T-Bone will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Continuing on, as we continue on with roll call here, let us say hello to, who's next? Noble Patrick. Thank you for joining us. And Thomas Rock, Super Crazy. Paramarv, Dino Bravo, good to have you all here. Thank you for joining us. Hi there, Nina Williams and Operation Shutdown. Melvin and Aloha Dave, good to see you both. Hello there, Christine Lynn and Lee the Bee and JSCO. Thank you for coming on in. Phil the Stalker, Oob to Joe's Main, You've Got Aliens. Michael Fontaine has returned. Good to have you all here as we continue on with our roll call here tonight. Al Garay on Twitch. Pressing 800 pounds 68 times tonight at the gym before coming into this show. We appreciate your workout for us. Let's continue on. Ozzy, good to see you. And who else is here? And let's scroll on down. Dave, you have audio issues. Do I have audio issues? Little Cam on Twitch. Bench pressing 450 tonight, 52 times. Android Paranormal, good to see you. And who else is here? Digger Dog. Emperor Penguin, welcome. Am I choppy? Okay, 1 second here, guys. Let's see here. Okay, 1 second here. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. That should be clearer. Is it clearer? Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Modulating a little. Let's turn that down. Is that any better? Because I'm running out of time. No, it's not better. Son of a gun. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4. Dirty Filth, I need you to listen to me here, bud. Your audio is bad, Mike, Mark. My audio is bad. Hello and welcome to the Spaced Out Radio and Podcast side tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott, and we are trying really hard to get our audio going here. Marc Dantonio is our guest, so hopefully we'll sound pretty good here in a little bit. Let's try that. Hold on here, everybody. Mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button.
Act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere. Watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized.
All right, let's test this out, see how this is sounding. Does that sound any better? Does that sound any better? No? All right, how do we do this? How do we do this without stopping everything? Sounds okay on Spreaker, so it's just on YouTube. Well, okay, so that is good going through there. Mark, am I sounding okay to you now? No? I was right before the show, though, right? I was sounding good right before the show? No? See, if I reboot the show, I'm going to lose the podcast side, which means why is this happening? Give me a few minutes here, guys. I'm just trying to figure this out here for tonight. All right. Let's go here. There's nothing worse than audio issues. Nothing worse. Let's try that. Does that sound any better? Yeah, that sounds better. All right. All right. Let's get it going. Now I have to see how I can edit this in. All right. Marc Dantonio is here from MUFON tonight. as we are looking pretty good here on the Spaced Out Radio. And let's see what we got here. Mark, we're just going to go right to it. You have an astronomy degree. You're one of the head chief photo and video analysis for MUFON. You've been doing this a long time, Mark. What got you into UFOs way back in the 1970s?
First of all, it started with missing time when I was 9 years old, Dave. And I actually ended up being very frightened by this missing time event. I went on a school trip. And in that school trip, I remember getting there with my bag lunch. I remember getting on the bus, going to the pond. I remember getting off the bus with my little bag lunch. And the next thing you know, I'm getting on the bus with my little bag lunch and saying to the kids, when are we going to go to the pond? And kids are mean. They whack me around and said, "Oh, we've been there all day, you jerk," that kind of thing. And I didn't know what to do with it. I had no idea what to do with that. So I came home, put the little bag lunch on the counter. My mother said, "Why didn't you eat your lunch?" And I went, "I don't know," and I ended up going out to play in the empty lot next door. And I started to feel weird. I collapsed in the lot, the empty lot, and I started having these convulsions and seizures. And they called an ambulance, had to take me to the hospital. And they determined that I had hit my head, which I did, because during the convulsions in the empty lot, I was banging my head on the ground. And by banging my head on the ground, I was actually hitting the sand and embedding sand in my forehead. And the doctor said, "Oh, look, he's got sand in his forehead. He must have fallen when he went to the pond." And that's not what happened. I collapsed in the lot, and I was banging my head on the ground in the lot. And that's what happened. And that's why I ended up, with sand in my forehead. So they said it was a concussion, and it never happened ever again. So I have no idea what it was, but they just sent me home. I was happy to get out of the hospital. And that was that. So from that point on, I had a strange feeling that, we weren't alone. And I don't know how it happened, but, and I don't know why I felt that way, but, and I'm a science guy. This stuff doesn't happen to me, So what am I supposed to do?
Of course, right?
Yeah.
Of course. Now, you said you had some missing time.
Yeah.
How long couldn't you account for?
A whole day. I was actually, I went to this pond, maybe not quite the whole day. We got there around maybe 10 in the morning on a school bus, a little yellow school bus. And we all got off the bus with our bag lunches. And that's where my day ended. And that took about 45 minutes to get there. So from 10:45 to the time we got back on the bus around 3 o'clock, perhaps, maybe 2:30, 3 o'clock, I lost track of that entire day. And I don't remember it to this day. I never even ate my lunch. In fact, I was still holding it the same way in my hands, and my hands were sore from holding the bag so tight the whole day. So it was strange, but that was all day long. And that was the first event, these mysterious things have happened, and I've just sort of said, well, maybe that missing time thing was a medical event or something, but I was with everybody. So where did I go? And why did anyone see me? I don't know. And when they asked me how I got that bump on my head, I said I fell on a dock at Burr Pond in Torrington, Connecticut. And anyone who knows Burr Pond in your listening audience will know Burr Pond is a natural body of water. It doesn't have any docks. It's just a natural pond. And we went there to, collect the insects, look at bugs and frogs and things like that. It wasn't any kind of a visit that had any kind of formalized dock and boating and nothing like that. So it was kind of cool. In later years, I looked back and said, I got to go back to Burr Pond. And I'll tell you, I went back to Burr Pond one time. And when I went there and pulled into the parking lot, which is interesting, it's interesting that it's the same parking lot that it always has been. It's a little upgraded now, but I'll say this: pulled into that parking lot, and I obviously had an experience there. So in my mind, that's working on me too. But then, as I pulled into the parking lot, I felt, man, this is really weird. Feels really strange to be here. It actually, felt like I was more like what's the word? I felt it felt wrong to be there. Like I shouldn't be there. I can't explain why. And that was probably just my brain working on me, that kind of thing. But it was strange, Dave. I got to tell you, and that's just that missing time episode was very strange.
How did it lead you to where you are today?
Well, that's actually a really good question. When I was 9, I don't know when it happened, but all of a sudden I decided I was going to become an astronomer. And the reason came to me because I would look up at the sky at night and say, I know there's got to be other people, I called them, looking back at me from those stars. I didn't know how it was going to be. I didn't know if it was true, but I knew that it had to be true. Now, yes, I was influenced by Star Trek and, I want to go to the stars. Spock, take me there, right? We all know about Star Trek and all that. And I felt influenced by it as well. But I'll tell you this, I had a much more serious approach to it. I actually felt like I have to learn everything I can about astronomy. I could barely say that word. I call it astronomy for the longest time because I couldn't say the word. And so I went to the school on my little bicycle, not school, the library, public library in Plainville, Connecticut, on my bicycle all the time. Mrs. Brown was the librarian. I had to go to the kids section where I had all the little chairs. And I said to Mrs. Brown, I want to go upstairs to the adult book section because I want to get books on chemistry and astronomy. And she looked at me like I had 2 heads. Now, I probably did have 2 heads. I was an alien practically back then. But, I actually said to her, Mrs. Brown, please. And so she escorted me upstairs. And she said, we don't do this, Marky. That's what they called me. I said, no, it's okay. Got upstairs, got some books on astronomy, one of Abel's books, and a couple of books on chemistry. Now, that was a really important book, and I was 9. I couldn't read all those things. I didn't understand everything in the books, but I can tell you I was very, very interested, and I had to make sure that I understood astronomy. And it was almost driven to understand the stars and what's going on out there and how they work. And to that point, we had as astronomers back then, there was a good idea of how the stars worked and how they're made and all that. And I didn't have the feeling and understanding that I think everybody in astronomy would have. I had a 9-year-old's version of astronomy in my head. So I decided that as a 9-year-old, I was going to try to become an astronomer. So what did I do? I started drawing up plans for a space station. And I sent those plans down to NASA. And, I got a box back about a month later, which I labeled my space box. It came from NASA, from a scientist down there named Bert Lee. And Mr. Lee had sent me this box full of pamphlets and full of cloth mission patches from different missions, books, and model kits. Oh my gosh. And I was like I labeled a space box. Like I said, I had that box for a long, long time. And the things that were in it had long since been scattered to the winds. Okay. But that book, or that box, also had a manila envelope in it with my space station plan. And the scientist that looked at it, this Bert Lee, he looked at it and he checked off all the things I commented on. I had pigs on board, for bacon. I had cows on board for meat and milk. Okay. I had oxygen generators. I didn't know quite how those were going to work. Okay. Nowadays, we actually do. It's called the MOXIE system that they use on Mars as a test with Perseverance. It worked like a charm. And I had carbon dioxide scrubbers. As a 9-year-old, I mean, I read a lot, Dave. I was the nerdiest of the nerds. Nerds would call me a nerd. Okay. And I actually figured out how to get rid of carbon dioxide in the air because the chemistry book showed me how these little chemical reactions worked. I didn't understand all of it. I could never have balanced an equation as a kid. But as I got older, I started to understand that where I went wrong on the space station plan. But the guy wrote all these little notes and he said, fantastic job. These are the things we're doing now. You should keep doing this, blah, blah, blah. You should stay in the space program, you know, and that really encouraged me. And that guy, Bert Lee, he goes by the name Gentry. His name is Gentry Lee. And there are people listening who know who Gentry Lee is. He was the director of all outer space missions for JPL, all robotic missions. That was his bailiwick. Perseverance rover, Curiosity, that was him. Okay. New Horizons to Mars, Dawn to Vesta and Ceres, that was Gentry Lee. And that's the man that got me into astronomy. And I actually called him one time, actually emailed him, and I told him the story I just told you about the space box and all the stuff he sent me. And he said, although I don't remember you, Mark, he goes, that is exactly the kind of stuff I would do. I always wanted to promote people's interest in space. And now you can see where I got it, Dave, right? You can see where I got it. Okay. It's just amazing how impressionable kids are, and they can just take your ideas and run with them, you know? And I had a little bit of an interest in space. And thanks to Gentry Lee and getting a telescope from my parents, I rocketed, more so into space, and I became an astronomer as a result. I never wavered. Well, I did dabble with oceanography, right? That's inner space, Dave, right? I mean, outer space, inner space, here, not so much. So
At what time did you start kind of combining your love of space and NASA with UFOs?
when I had the missing time, I had a nagging thing going on. Okay. And that nagging thing in my head that kept doing this to me all day long was that something was not right with this thing that happened to me. And at that point, it was like, a couple of years ago in that frame of mind. And so when I was 11 years old, I decided to look for ways to connect with anyone that might know anything about UFOs and spacemen. Because back then it was, flying saucers and spacemen, right? And I found the Midwest UFO Network, which became MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. I joined it. I was 11 years old. And I got this nice, neat little card signed by Walter Andrus, who was the director. Okay. I can say I knew him when he had dark hair. He's long passed away by now, obviously. But that card was in my wallet up to just a couple years ago, believe it or not. And the reason I kept it all that time was because I was proud of that achievement. I was proud that someone would make me a field investigator at age 11. Now, I went through all the training that they offered at the time, and I got my certified field investigator credential. And as an 11-year-old, that's a big thing. It's like, wow, look at me, right? But Connecticut didn't have like a massive presence with the Midwest UFO Network as it was then. So I ended up just sort of doing my own stuff. I made cameras. I built cameras, literally out of cardboard. I made pinhole cameras. I started taking pictures through the telescope at a very young age with homemade things, homemade adapters to hold my camera. And it was just a mishmash of stuff. It was always on the verge of falling apart because it was made of literally cardboard and oak tag folder paper, and it worked. It worked. When I got my first roll of film back, and I looked, I was like, wow, look at that. A kind of a half sort of picture of a crater on the moon. That's so cool. I mean, and those little victories spur you on, then you got to do it right. So back to Mrs. Brown at the Plainville Library again. Mrs. Brown, can you take me upstairs? I got to get some more books on astronomy. And this time I got to get books on cameras and photography. Okay, Marky, let's go. And upstairs we go where the big chairs are, right? And I'd have to jump to get into the big chairs up there. And so I would end up taking these books and read them. And she wouldn't let me take the reference books home. Okay. I had to read them there. Okay. And so I had to take notes. And you can imagine how an 11-year-old takes notes. It's scribble, so I couldn't read much of what I wrote, but I would actually take notes and I'd come home. And it was there actually during reading those chemistry books, I learned a really, really important chemical reaction. I learned that sodium hydroxide, which is Drano, okay, when combined with water and something to attack like metal shavings, would generate hydrogen gas. Ooh. So I was off to make these hydrogen balloons, as a little offshoot of everything else I did. So I made hydrogen balloons in my backyard in a little still I created from a big glass water cooler bottle. And I took shavings from the tool shop next door to the house and I sprinkled them down in there. I filled it with water, swirled it around. And I went to my mom. Ma, do we have any Drano? Yes, under the sink. Okay. Don't use it all. Okay. I poured the whole thing in, and then I made hydrogen gas coming out of this bottle. And I filled balloons, clothing bag balloons. I would take my bicycle and go down to my father's laundry and say, Dad, can I have some of those clothing bags? The really thin ones. And I would come back and tape them up, make them just right, put them on my little tube output from my little hydrogen still and make hydrogen balloons. I was trying to make, in my head, I was trying to work out a way to make like rocket fuel or something, right? Because I was 11. I didn't know any better. I thought if I can make it explode, then I know I'm on the right track. So I would tether these balloons in the empty lot next door, the same lot where I had the convulsions I was telling you about. And I would shoot them with a flaming arrow. Okay. And sometimes the arrow would just push the balloon out of the way and continue unabated into the ground where it would start the lawn on fire, the whole lot on fire. I'd run over, quickly put it out and go back. And I kept shooting the balloon with these arrows and it just wasn't penetrating. It wasn't blowing them up. So finally I decided I'm going to get a long stick, dip it in gas, light it and poke this balloon and see what happens. It's like poking a bear, Dave, So I went, let me just do this. I go, bink, and boom. Oh, but I was shaking and knocked to the ground. Oh my gosh. And I thought, wow, that was cool. So I proceeded to do it again and again and again. The only trouble was every time I did it, it rattled windows in the neighborhood and they would call the police. I was like, oh man. So I'd have to go quickly and I throw a tarp over the still, which is sitting there percolating. I had it going for weeks at a time. And then, when they would go by, I'd be sitting there bouncing the ball in the lot, waiting for them to go by. Then when they went by, I went back into the back and pulled the next balloon off and got it ready for the next test. So, we do crazy things as kids, but today I would probably get arrested for that. But it was neat to do it. And I didn't fully understand the chemical reaction at that time for how Na, sodium, OH, and oxygen and hydrogen, coupled with H2O, would yield diatomic hydrogen coming off of this. And then, but I did figure it out. It also made water vapor that came out, and I ended up having to trap that. We're using on the way out, using a big milk jug filled with cotton. So those are the other questions I said to my mom. I said, Ma, do we have any milk? Yeah, in the refrigerator. So I took a swig, dumped it down the drain, made sure she wasn't looking, rinsed it out. I said, do we have any cotton? Yeah, okay. Put it inside the jug. Okay. And then I went, set up my still. And you should have heard the conversations. Where's the Drano? The drain's plugged in the bathroom. Oh, no. Okay. Where's all my cotton? Oh, no. Who drank all the milk? I think my sister. But it worked. I got this beautiful, pure, dry hydrogen coming out, but the thing is, you think about what that means, what's going on in someone's head doing that, right? Mm-hmm. I was on a path of learning and adventure. So I felt like a pioneer.
Marc, hold on right there. We're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Marc Dantonio from MUFON is our guest tonight. UFOs, the sky. How do we tell the difference? What are we looking for? We'll find out as we turn the corner on Spaced Out Radio right after this. Stay tuned, everybody. Those would have been the glass jugs of milk back then too, wouldn't they?
No, they were plastic jugs, actually.
Really?
We had plastic jugs back then. Yep. What's this going on right here?
That's Dirty Filth. He's our resident cartoonist.
Okay.
Here, we'll give you a little look here.
Oh, that's cool.
It kind of looks like muck right now, but it'll work out in the end, I promise.
That's cool.
Yes. Hi, Dirty Filth.
Hi, Dave. Hi, Mark. Hi, everybody
Hi there.
else listening.
Yep.
I had to do one about the whistleblower, so got a news flash, and the gray aliens sitting at the pool hall are having to listen to it, and one of them disagrees.
That's cool.
Let's see. Let's
That Sands?
get to the damn hockey score, not the baseball score. Oh, this is just killing me.
You struggling,
I don't know.
Dave?
I am.
Your
Trying
sound
to
is
find-
perfect now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had aliens, Dave.
Well, I know what it was. Is somehow in my StreamYard setup, my audio was set to like 129 instead of 100.
Wow.
I have no idea how that happened. No idea.
I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
It's always aliens, Mark.
Aliens, Dave.
Unless you're on Twitter where it's UAP. Because they want to
Yes.
follow the terms.
Well, actually, that was very wise of them to go from UFO to UAP because UAP was virgin. It didn't have a reputation of crazy quackery yet and tinfoil hats yet. So if the government came out with it, you listened. And look what's happened. Now UAP is serious and UFOs are still blow up green alien dolls, you know.
But too bad UAPs are
Ooh,
man.
alien dolls.
If you go back and listen to a bunch of the interviews over the last years or last year and a half, we'll all learn that UAP are actually man-made objects.
Well, in some cases they are,
A lot of times, yeah.
without doubt.
Yeah.
I'm very tough on the data. I mean, as we speak, I've got my live all sky camera at the observatory out in Arizona running. I'm looking at the sky. I mean, I run the observatories remotely from Connecticut, so I can. I could open it up, run the telescope, show people stuff live. Right, that's what we do. But the all sky right now doesn't have anything. I had a big satellite just go through a little while ago,
Oh,
and
nice.
a few nights ago, I caught the re-entering Shenzhou Chinese rocket coming through.
Oh,
It was
nice.
like
Cool.
at 12:30 after midnight, and it came in from horizon to horizon. And it came through and just, as it burned up, and it flared right over the observatory, and then it faded out as it went toward the far horizon. And it was visible from Canada all the way through California. So we saw it from Arizona. We saw it across the entire sky. I got it on record.
Beautiful.
We're doing a lunar eclipse with our observatory back in January of 2019, and we were one of only 5 groups on the planet, Dave, to catch a meteor hitting the moon at the height of the eclipse.
No way.
Yeah, we caught a pow spot right on the moon from a meteor striking. The meteor is around 20 inches across, but they're hitting it like 30,000 miles an hour. So they're going to vaporize, and they convert all that energy of motion into heat because it's all it can do. So you see it from a long way away, and we saw it. And
That is
it's cool. And they went back later and found the crater too. They did. I couldn't see it. It was too small for my telescope. Neat stuff.
If you
Either
find the
way.
crater first, are you allowed to name it?
Well, the International Astronomical Union has jurisdiction over that. I'd love it. Can you imagine? Hey, that's asteroid Dave. That's right.
Yeah, that's Crater Mark right there.
That's right.
Mark,
Well, a crater is a mark, technically.
technically.
Yeah.
We got about 45 seconds, guys.
All right.
We'll mute Dirty Filth. Yeah. It's good when he gives a thumbs up, that's for sure.
That's Double thumbs up. What's that mean?
2 thumbs up means the Oilers are winning, and he's drawing a great cartoon.
No.
All right, big thank you to W. Decker, T-Bone, Jenny, and JSCO for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support. Thank you to all the brand new subscribers we've had on both YouTube, Twitch, as well as followers on X. We appreciate it. And here we go in about, 10 seconds, everybody.
Cool.
Yeah. Here we go with the second half hour, Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, we're on every major podcast network and on YouTube at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We continue on with our good friend, Marc Dantonio from MUFON. Chasing UFOs in the sky is what we are doing. No, it's not Journey's Wheel in the Sky. Keep on turning. No, we're looking for UFOs. Marc, welcome back, my man.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you very much.
What is your favorite song about space?
Oh, well, you know what? Brian May of Queen did a song specifically for a space probe called New Horizons. And it was really cool. Now, Brian May, some people know, some people don't. Brian May is an astrophysicist, yet he was a guitar player for Queen. So how one does both, I don't know. I mean, I play guitar, electric, but I'm nothing like a Brian May. But I am cognizant of the fact that creative minds will find outlets, right? So Brian May is creative, and he also has this extremely intellectual side of him, which I think is really, really admirable. And he wrote a song called New Horizons about the space probe that went to Pluto. Very cool. And they previewed it when the probe actually sent back the first photos of Pluto. It was very cool. I saw it live. It was great. Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I think mine would be, oh goodness, who's the artist? It was
What's
like
the
the
song?
sequel to like Major Tom, but it was, hold on a second. Now
So
this
not David Bowie then.
no. Hold on, I'm Googling it right now. Peter Schilling's Major Tom.
Okay.
Yeah, fantastic song. Fantastic song.
Okay. I don't know that I've heard it.
Yeah, it's a gooder.
Maybe I have actually, but didn't know his name.
You would know it. If I didn't have to deal with YouTube copyright infringement, I'd play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are a little bit sticky on that.
Oh yeah, I've been nailed by it pretty substantially at times.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
In your estimation, for the hundreds of thousands of photos and videos you've analyzed over the years, what's a UFO?
A UFO is to me, all right, which is the intended purpose. UFO and UAP mean the same thing to me. And in the break, I mentioned to you that UAP is a term the government coined, so they would actually have some control over the concept of an extraterrestrial craft from another world. And I know that David Grush actually said things like, well, it's not necessarily only extraterrestrial. It could be some other type of thing. What other type of thing could it be? It's not an adversary here on the earth. It's going to be something from not here. Okay. And so that's why I think that a UFO, a UAP, to me is a visitation vehicle from a different world. And I keep it as simple as that because I don't want to muddy the waters. I think that it's a real simple explanation, and I think that that's what we should be looking for. And when you say what you're looking for, you can then develop a methodology to find what you're looking for. If you make it too large a bucket, you're going to be spinning your wheels trying to find everything within the bucket and find the craft moving here. And I think I know how they operate, by the way. I do. I actually been lecturing about this around the country. I just got back from Arkansas. I did it there, and people absolutely loved it there. I've done it in Roswell. I've talked about it at Contact in the Desert, where I'll be at the end of the month, end of May.
Give us a little hint here.
I'm gonna. Well,
Tease
first
us.
of all, well, you know how it is. This is we gotta build it up, right? And then gotta go to a break. No, I'm just kidding. So the thing that's interesting is, you know, if you look at the world of physics, okay, and some of the folks in the chat here, you know, will agree with me because I've been reading their comments, and some of them are in our Sky Tour live stream group too. STLS is our remote observatories that we run. We have one in Arizona's Sonoran Desert, another one going in Benson, Arizona. Got a solar observatory going in right out here, right just a few feet from my camera here. Okay, maybe about 100 feet. And this particular methodology is something that my friend Bob Schroeder came up with initially. It's an older hypothesis that he revised and did some research on. It's something that some physicists in the world have decided is the right way. It's something that CERN is actually investigating right now overseas, the Large Hadron Collider. Oh, yeah, the big boys. And it's something that ties in. I'm going to get to it. It ties in Lawrence Livermore, too, with it as well, what they're doing. Keep this in mind. If you have a craft and it's going to come here from a long way away, it can't come here by traveling the absolute distance between there and here and travel in our four dimensions, X, Y, Z, all moving through time. You can't do that. It can't come here from there. It took us over 10 years to get to Pluto traveling in our X, Y, Z moving through time. Just our four dimensions. If we wanted to go to Alpha Centauri, only 4 light years away, the closest star to us, it would take us 10 to 11,000 years at the speed of the New Horizons probe that went to Pluto. And that was going as fast as anything we've ever come up with. So it would still take over 10 to 11,000 years to get there. So clearly, this is not good. Not a good methodology. We need something else. So what do we use? Well, there's a theory, part of string theory, actually, not the show. Okay. But it's actually something that would actually allow for craft to make this immense distance without actually traveling the distance between the area, the A to B. It wouldn't travel the distance in space through there. It would, and the way it works is this. You surround your ship with these particular particles. These particular particles you would generate with a reactor on board your ship. Those particles would automatically drag you into a fifth dimension, not the 4 here, but the fifth one here. That fifth dimension is extremely compressed. If you move farther in, the universe is smaller and smaller and smaller until it's very, very small. The farther in you go, the smaller it is. That translates to coming out to a larger and larger jump the farther in you go. You could literally go 6 inches, if you only just basically oscillate back and forth a little bit, or you can go many light years if you jump way into this fifth dimension and come back out. This is actually not exactly woo-woo science. This is potential future science, and it has to do with a particle called the Kaluza-Klein graviton. Now, these Kaluza-Klein or KK particles, KK gravitons, are very interesting. And you don't have to take my word for it. If you look up Kaluza, K-A-L-U-Z-A, Klein, K-L-E-I-N, gravitons, and then the next word in your Google search is CERN, C-E-R-N, you will find the white paper that CERN has put up there about these particles. In fact, you'll find that they created a detector to add to the Hadron Collider that will actually detect these particles. Why? Because they think they're very interesting. Yes, they certainly are. And the kind of reactor that you need to generate these particles would be like a fusion reactor. And gee, that's kind of funny. Right now, CERN has under its belt this. I'm not sorry, CERN. Lawrence Livermore has under its belt this incredible, amazing milestone accomplishment where they actually created a sustained fusion reaction for a short period of time, and they didn't get out more energy than they put in. We're not there yet, but they did create this sustained reaction for a short period of time. That's the next step. That's a major milestone to having a fusion reactor that's running at all times. And by the way, what do you need to create those KK particles? A fusion reactor. So you see, you marry what CERN is doing with what Lawrence Livermore is doing, and maybe eventually we can have a ship that will actually allow itself to be shifted into this fifth dimension by generating these KK particles and come back. And what they do is the theory is they oscillate back and forth. They go from this fifth dimension to our four constantly, like an oscillation, like a frequency vibration. And they're doing that for a reason. They're doing that because that way, when they're here, they're not really here and subject to our laws of physics and rules. And when they're out there in the bulk, they're not really there long enough to be subject to its rules. They just bounce back and forth to get the benefits of both locations. And so you might say, well, obviously that sounds pretty dangerous. And it could be. Even an advanced species can crash. Even an advanced species has to shut off the reactor to stop and get out. Now, you might say, how is it that we would say that these ships are actually, I got one here to show you. These ships are actually, producing these particles. Well, this is the S4 Sport UFO. It's a model that we make in our shop. It's part of our History Maker collection. And if you look at this, think about this. What's in this outside ring here? That's the particle accelerator in this theory, you see? And in this particle accelerator, the occupants would be in the middle where they're shielded from the deadly radiation called synchrotron radiation that you get from trying to drive particles in a circle. Now, the way one of these accelerators works is you drive particles in a circle, you collide them, you collide at a certain point and generate the result particles that you want. Well, if you're good and you know what you're doing, you could probably generate these particular Kaluza-Klein particles. They would surround your ship. And as they surround your ship, they create micro black holes because they're extremely powerful gravitons. And if they do that, they'll pull you into the fifth dimension. Now, what would that look like to our eyes looking at something like that? Here in our four dimensions, watching this process unfold, this thing might look like it's kind of shimmering. It might look like it vanishes and then comes back a little bit. It might look like it's shimmering, changing color. All the things that are reported with UFOs or UAP could be, I'm not saying they are, but could be the result of Kaluza-Klein gravitons being used. Okay. And if you look at the shape of the UFOs, well, that's conducive to the accelerator, like I told you. And these are typically around 30 feet in diameter, they claim. Well, our accelerator rings are much bigger, right? CERN's 21 miles. That's pretty big. Okay. And so over time, we could develop technology to have a much more compact accelerator ring. See, and that's something I think might be beneficial to us because then we don't even need a gas tank. We don't need a propulsion system. All we need to do is be able to shift out of this particular position in our four dimensions, shift into the fifth dimension, okay, and then shift back at a slightly different position in our four dimensions again. So by bouncing back and forth, we can literally go from here to here to here to here to here to here, and we wouldn't have to travel the space between. We could go here and then show up here, go here, show up here, right? And so it's not, the occupants on here would not feel any incredible forces. People report UFOs moving in sharp right angle turns. Whoa, how could any occupants do that? They can't. Even they can't. But they're not feeling any forces. They're just popping out into the fifth dimension and popping back. They don't feel any forces at all. To them, the scenery just changes momentarily. And it happens because they can do this dimensional shift into the fifth dimension using this UFO kind of design, which is an accelerator ring, and generating particles that allow it to go into that fifth dimension. So I know that's long and drawn out, Dave, but this is actually part of a string theory called Randall Syndrome 1, RS1. I encourage everybody listening to look it up and look at this. I'm telling you, KK particles, RS1. You're gonna be able to see this. And CERN wrote a white paper on the KK particles, which you'll see if you look up KK particles and CERN. See what I mean? So we got a lot going on here, and that lecture I do, and I'm only giving you a really short synopsis. That is something that people really can understand. I did this down in I did this down in Texas, and one of the things that in Edinburgh I found was I had an audience of, I don't know, maybe 300, 250, 300 people. I talked about this talk and mentioned this and talked about this process. And, in Texas, a cowboy's prized possession is his horse and his hat. That's a joke, right?
Mhm.
But this cowboy came up to me and he had this look on his face. I wasn't sure if he was mad at me, but he wasn't. He basically said, "This all fits. It just makes sense. I get it now. I want you to have my hat." And he gave me his hat. I mean, I have it right back here. I can't believe it. So it hits people a certain way. Some people really understand it and see how it ties together. That last big question: how can they be here across such vast distances? Well, this is how. This is how. And we're about 100 years away from being able to do the same exact thing. And that's probably part of the reason they're kind of interested in us, Dave.
Mark, I'm going to be blunt with you. I think you broke that down brilliantly. For somebody who's very non-scientific like I am, it was very easy to follow. So I want to say thank you for doing that for us. But I do have a follow-up question, if you don't mind. And I realize, and I don't mean to throw woo in your theory, but there's a lot of people who claim to have been taken aboard and feel that the craft does have some sort of biologics to it. How would that play into the idea that they're going into a fifth dimension?
Actually, quite easily, because when you think about it, our control systems now on some of our fighter jets are neural link control systems from the pilot. There's eye tracking systems, and there's also other types of systems that use the pilot's reflexive actions, eye motions, and so forth. So we're tying our biologics into our hardware. So I think a civilization, it only has to be 500 to 1,000 years ahead of us, maybe, but it could be many, many years older. I think a civilization that old would have no problem tying biologics into the control of their craft. I think it might actually make total sense to do that, because interfaces can be clumsy. Interfaces can cause problems. If you have to hold the steering wheel, to drive a car, you can't let go of that steering wheel or you'll crash. But if you had a neural link to your car, you could actually pay attention to reading a book at the same time as you were split your attention to driving on the road. I know that's an odd example, but there's a time where we'll be able to split and do parallel thought processes. We can't now. We're linear. But the bottom line is that we know autonomous things work. We can breathe while talking and not think about taking the next breath. Okay. So some things work autonomously. So we would program autonomous things into ourselves as well. And aliens, extraterrestrials, would probably do the same thing. They would program autonomy into their designs as well. One of those autonomous things is that the ship would constantly be oscillating back and forth between this fifth dimension and the four, constantly. So it's neither here, neither there. That's why a ship can travel underwater, as I witnessed personally on a U.S. submarine, at several hundred knots, Dave. Okay, underwater. Nothing does that. It's like, wow,
Nothing.
nothing. And since then, Admiral Tim Galladay, I've talked to him, he can validate what I've been saying. And I can tell you that when you talk to other submariners, as I've done, I was on a sub as a guest. I was not a submariner. In fact, I got seasick while on this ride. Okay. But it was the most fun I had getting seasick. Just so you know, the most fun I had being sick. But when they called this thing a fast mover and they said this thing was moving through the sonar at several hundred knots, the kid on the sonar did not know how to handle it. He just turned his chair sideways. The chairs are locked and he turned his butt sideways in the chair and just went like, what do I do? To the executive officer. And the XO didn't even miss a beat. He said, okay, log it and dog it. And the kid said, sir, yes, sir. Went back to the screen. And Mr. Big Shot that was offered this ride, I'm a very important guy. VIP, man. Okay. They're going to answer my questions. You see where this is going. And I walked up to him and I said, XO, I'm familiar with these fast movers. Is there anything I can help you with? He said, Dantonio, right? Sir, yes, sir. Good trip so far? Sir, yes, sir. Let's keep it that way. Oh, okay. Bye. And that was that. But then 4 years later, Dave, I had to do a job for the Joint Chiefs. And I went down. It was actually a project for the Office of the President. So I went down to Washington from Connecticut, brought the project down. I was the only one who could bring it down because it was a high security thing. And I ended up sitting with one of the chiefs personally. And I asked him, what can you tell me about the fast mover program, which is what they called this on the boat? And he looked at me, now missing a beat, said, I'm sorry, Mark, I can't talk about that. Okay. I think I wet my pants right then and there because I realized, holy cow, this is real. This is real.
He just told you that.
He said everything without saying anything. Yeah. And so, obviously, when you know that this stuff is happening in your world, it makes sense to look for them. I'm a big fan of USOs, unknown submerged objects, and I feel that, and this is something that I've always said, they go where we are not. And where we are not is in the deep ocean. Remember that oscillation thing I told you about? They can oscillate because that's a computerized function. It's just going to oscillate back and forth between fifth dimension and the 4, back and forth, not feel the effects of depth. They could be down there for decades. And as long as the ship keeps oscillating, it won't be subject to those vast pressures, So as long as it's doing that, that can actually do its thing. The ship can move around, it can come out, it can go back in. And I think that's what they do. I think that they use that as a base. I don't believe they're on the moon. I really don't. I think that we've got the moon pretty well covered. The Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter is up there. The Lunar Reconnaissance, yeah.
Well, according with 90 seconds to go, according to Bill Nelson, we don't know what's on the dark side of the moon.
There is no dark side of the moon. It's all lit up at various times. The far side of the moon, we actually know quite well because if you go, and this is a treat for everybody listening. If you don't know about this, there's only about 40 seconds left here until he has to go to his break. But I'll tell you this: look in Google and look up LRO Quick Map, all one word, LRO Quick Map. Okay. And you will be presented with a map of the moon that you can watch and look at it 3D, rotate the globe. You can look at it in the front and the back. Okay, poles, and zoom in so close that you can see the tracks left by the rovers. You can see the astronauts' equipment left on the moon. Okay, that's how good it is. And the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter has been mapping from 60 miles above the moon for a long time now. And we have very good coverage of almost the entire moon. So you can go see for yourself what's on the far side of the moon, as we call it, or the near side.
Oh my, I'm actually zooming in on this.
Yeah.
Right.
You can go to 0.5 meter per pixel. And that's pretty good, Dave.
Now
it's excellent. And on my channel of Sky Tour live stream channel, I actually do classes on using that browser because there's all kinds of tools. We actually create 3D printing models from there too.
Hold that thought. Marc Dantonio, when we return, how do we know what's a UFO and what's not on Spaced Out Radio? Next. is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, Mark, we got about 5.5 minutes here.
Okay.
This is what 35th drew.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. It's funny.
There we
That's
are.
All right, Mark, I'll be right back in a couple minutes.
Sure.
This is a good time for everybody to feed your cats and dogmen and werewolves.
Yeah. There's a guy in chat. Who's paying this douchebag to lie? Oh, man, that's funny.
I don't know who the douchebag is.
You think he was talking to me?
Oh, well. Hey, at least you got a fan now.
Yeah, I got plenty more. I don't have to worry about him. I have a very thick skin.
No, it's
That's a
always
great
good, I
drawing.
guess. Thanks. If you
I
throw
like
yourself out there in the world, people always like to rip you
Oh, yeah.
down.
Of course.
Be a dick. Actually, when I first started drawing with Dave on the show, I went and looked at one of the comments on the YouTube after. I was like, I wonder if anyone's gonna like troll me or be a dick. Or
They will.
French. And this
Some
guy
will.
goes, this guy's distracting. So I'm working on my second book, and in my accolades, I took that guy's comment and I put that in there with his username because that's a pretty good accolade. He said, "This is distracting." So I went, excellent. So that motivated me to draw more cartoons.
That's very cool. I think it's cool.
I've
never been on
I grew
a
up when the internet
podcast.
first existed, so
Okay.
everything was rowdy back then.
Yeah.
There was no, you could just say whatever, and people, and then, just life experiences and junk people you hang out with, kind of immune to wieners on the internet after a while.
Oh, yeah. I'm totally immune to it. In fact, the more I have, the better. It's funny as heck.
Yeah, you should put the accolades in. But I had to do one with the aliens because these 3 gray aliens here, they hang out at the local pool hall / watering hole, and they always try to devise plans to get rich.
Yeah.
All their plans always backfire. But
Yeah.
their names are Carl, Stanton, and Alan.
Oh, that's funny.
That nods to all the UFO nerds of the
Yeah,
past.
yeah, that's really cool.
I got a stack of these things for that too. There was another one that I had that was relevant here. Here's my one I did for hockey because Dave's into hockey. It's playoff seasons right now, so here they are explaining hockey. It's like, it's called hockey, Alan. Players allowed to physically assault one another without any legal ramifications.
That's cute.
It's funny because what other sport are players allowed to stand there and punch each other in the chops and there's no assault charges pressed?
Yeah, it's true.
It was a hockey fight,
boxing.
punched the crap out of each other. Yeah, I guess boxing and UFC, but I mean, it's not like in basketball, players just stand there and they just duke it out. And everybody
not even
around.
football. Not even football. Yeah, you're right. Football
I
is
mean,
supposed to be even better.
sometimes 2 guys won't even start punching each other. They'll just be standing there, and the announcers on the broadcast are like, "Oh, and they're squaring up, and they're taking a second, and they grab each other's jersey and they, piss around like a bunch of. I couldn't stand in there, so." Anyways, but they piss around like a bunch of weenies, and then they start punching each other, and one guy gets knocked out, and they're like, "Oh, okay," and everyone cheers, and you get a little bit of gladiator match in your sports.
Yeah. Well, my mother and father once, they're both gone now, but they one time went to a hockey game, and there was this fight, and one of the players was spitting his teeth out on the ice, and my mother said, "That's the last time I ever went to hockey. That was disgusting." and he went back to playing like nothing had happened,
They probably went for a beer afterwards too. So
yeah, right.
Actually, I remember back in the day when they showed the old players, they'd be sitting in the dressing room, they'd have a beer, and they'd be smoking ciggies, and
Mhm.
Now everyone's just like juiced, like strict diet, discipline. Right, Dave?
What's that? I didn't have my headphones on yet.
Well, I was saying everything in hockey now is strict diet and discipline, and
It's
everybody's,
terrible.
there's no guys smoking ciggies and having beers in between periods or anything like that.
That's right. Although there was a Russian hockey player the other day who did an interview with a cigarette in his mouth.
He's
That
my
was
new favorite player.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Hey, Dave, is there a reason? Like, I'm putting in some comments, and some of them it's saying my comments failed to post.
I don't know why.
Okay, is it because I put in a link to Sky Tour so people could go
Oh.
to Sky Tour?
I'll
Is
put
it-
it in. What?
Well, it's
Right,
you know
good night,
the
gentlemen.
okay.
All right, Dirty Filth, you out of here? Yeah. All right. Is it sky-tours?
No,
Com?
it's skytourlive.org. And it's the Sky Tour and then live stream on YouTube.
All right, 1 second here. There we go. Tim will find it. Tim will post it. He always does.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, she did up there.
Here we go, everybody. Here we go with the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Setarunt. Setarunt is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. From MUFON, here is Marc Dantonio. He's an astronomer. He's a guy who really tells you what's actually flying up in space when we're not getting confused with Starlink, Venus, or many other objects that are up there. Marc, welcome back.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much. It's fun to be here with you.
I'm having a blast, man. It's always so educational when you are here. So thank you for that.
Oh, not at all, man. It's a fun time. It's a fun trip.
I want to ask you for our audience, because there's a lot of people listening in who stare up at the stars at night.
Yeah.
And they're hoping to see something, man. They are hoping to see something weird, something strange, maybe triangles flying over, or you know, more than just satellites or the International Space Station. But yet, because we're not experts, it's easy for many of us to get confused on what's really happening up in the stars. How do we tell a UFO from something that is human-made?
Well, that's actually not the easiest question to answer, because there are many things that look like ordinary objects, but then they take on an extraordinary path. Okay. And I can tell you that if you have a satellite going over, it's going to look like it's just a constant light moving through the sky, you know, pretty, not too fast, not too slow. However, if it does that and changes direction, that's huge. And that's something we want to know about. If it changes, if it does this, if it goes like this, then it starts to curl around and go back the other way or something, that we want to know about. On our all sky camera last year, we caught exactly that happening. We caught an object that we were taking 24-second exposures of the night sky. So everything was a trail, not the stars, but The planes that went over would leave a trail with their lights, a trail of lights that they blink. But this object was way up high in the sky, and on one frame it made half a turn, and on the other frame it made the other half of the turn. So in 24 seconds it went around to here, and the other 24 it went to here. Now, it didn't have any aircraft lighting. It was just a constant light. What the heck was that? I couldn't tell what it was. And to this point, I still don't know what it is. I've published it. I put it out there. I reported it. And I can tell you that no one has any good ideas. Now, I'm MUFON's chief photo and video analyst. You would think I would have an idea what it was. But this is the part I love. I don't. I love that part. I love not knowing something. I love when I come up against something I can't figure out. I don't have an ego, so I could care less. If I'm right or wrong, I just endeavor to always be as close as I can given the data I get. And so this thing, I have no idea what it was. But if you thought about it, you think, oh, what if it's a jet? I mean, Luke Air Force Base was nearby, right? So, hey, maybe it was a fighter. Okay. How would that look? Well, if the fighter's going away from you, it would curve away from you. You'd see the exhaust nozzle. And yeah, it would light up. You'd see a curve. So for the first half, you might see the curve of the exhaust nozzle. But well, wait a minute. Now when it's coming back at you and turning and now coming toward you, what exhaust nozzle are you seeing? There isn't one. Why would it be the same brightness? Exactly the same brightness. It shouldn't be. Why would it be lit at all on both sides of that path? Only one side should be if it was the exhaust nozzle. It shouldn't be lit. So none of the logical questions could get answered, Dave. So it became really crazy to try and figure this thing out. And that's the benefit of this. Now, like I said, Sky Tour live stream, we started it as an educational astronomy thing. We're opening our second observatory in Benson, Arizona in another month or so. And we're going to open our solar observatory right here in Connecticut. And we do have the Sonoran, Sky Tour Sonoran set up. It's so far out in the desert, you got to drive 45 minutes on dirt roads to get to it after you leave the paved roads. Okay. And so out there, you see a lot of things. And a lot of things out in that sky are not the things you see in the Phoenix sky or the Tucson sky. So it's really strange looking at that night. Like as we speak, I've got my all sky camera out looking out in the Sonoran Desert right now, trying to, and it makes compilations. It makes these beautiful videos at the end of each night, time lapse showing the whole night, and you watch the stars go by, and you see all the satellites go by. You see planes go by. It's really cool, and so I think it's pretty cool, Now, I know that Tim in the chat there is asking a question about what I've seen during the daytime. If I've seen a stationary, there it is. Have you seen a stationary blinking light in the high noon position? Not blinking, but solid. And I didn't know what it was. That was when I was in my old house, the house where I had that encounter where something shoved that thing up my nose. But no, and I saw a solid light up over my head. I could not figure out what it was. I thought maybe it's a balloon, or maybe it's a high altitude weather balloon or something. And I stared at it and stared at it. And as I stared at it, all of a sudden it was like, boop, and it was gone. It winked out and it never came back. And, it was directly overhead. And there were no reports anywhere in Connecticut where I live of any weather balloon stuff crashing to the ground. So that's pretty crazy, and I know that our telescope that we have out in the desert and the one we're going to be getting for the Benson area, they're going to be looking at the sky as well. And if I may just mention, the telescope we currently use is a 10-inch Meade system. We've modified so that it actually runs at a focal ratio of f1. It's very, very fast. It's photographically extremely fast. In fact, it's the only telescope that's been modified like that from a Meade telescope standpoint in the entire world. So it's a one of a kind. And so we capture things in 20 seconds, Dave, that it would take hours to capture normally. So we have really one heck of a system out there. And we're upgrading it very soon. And so there's so many things that are out there for people to see. We can see the geosynchronous satellites that are all the way out there. They're 24,000 miles out, and we can see them. They're very, very faint, but we can see they leave trails on all of our images because we're following the stars and they're following the Earth. So they're stationary over the Earth, and the telescope's rotating out from under those as well. So it's pretty cool.
Are you surprised that still so many people are mistaking things like the International Space Station or Starlink as UFOs?
Well, not so much Starlink anymore. And I'll tell you why. Because Starlink is fairly new on the scene. And there's people who don't even really know what Starlink is right now. There's still people out there that don't even know what that is. So sure, now one of our major contributors, a guy, so SkyTour Livestream also gives away equipment on many nights. And we give away telescopes. In fact, JSCO that had a question, he won a telescope from us in the chat here. And we give away binoculars and night vision systems. And the guy responsible for that works for SpaceX. And we find that many people don't even know that Starlink is out there, So it's in the popular culture that we know. It's not in the popular culture that the rest of society at large knows. So being sensitive to that, I think it's important to keep in mind that when you get that first excited call from someone who says they see something strange, a bunch of lights, consecutive lights in the sky, traveling slowly through the sky, thinking it's an alien invasion, that adrenaline rush they're getting, that's a really important thing to manage properly when someone reports that. The person that handled my phone call when I was 14 years old and calling about these incredible lights that were in the sky that were changing color, a bright red light just went and appeared in the sky way toward the southern horizon. Another one came up, a weird shade of blue I never saw before. And then another red one and blue, and they did these blinking in the sky. I called down to this astronomical phenomena alert line, and I was told by a similarly excited person that, that's pretty cool, isn't it? I go, yeah, what is that? Well, it's a sounding rocket that was launched from Wallops Island, Virginia, and you could see it in Connecticut. And you're seeing that from Connecticut. Tell us how high is it off the horizon. So I gave them all the measurements and all that, so they could figure out the circularity of the Earth and figure out how high it went in the sky, kind of thing. Really cool. So and so it didn't ruin it for me. See that it was a known thing. I felt that I was part of it, and it was actually kind of interesting. So I don't look down on people in any way if they don't understand what they're seeing in the sky, because I've been there. I've done it. I was probably a loud, screaming like a little girl kind of guy when I saw this thing happening. Oh, look at that! Look at that! What is that? And we've all been there. But I'll tell you, it's hard to differentiate for a lot of people, because Starlink's new to the scene, and you see the satellites going over once they start spreading out. And I used my psionics camera, which somebody in the chat mentioned. And I think that's really important to understand, that the psionics camera is like having an 800,000 ISO camera and it's full color. So you can literally see color in the dark. I mean, it is beautiful. And so I think that was a very important thing to get. I recommend it. It's one of the things that we give away in SkyTour Livestream, is we give these away. So you want to join us, and I will say this, yes, I'm, MUFON's chief photo and video analyst. But you have to understand that, I understand that MUFON's had its issues over the years. I do. I've been in it since I was 11 years old. I think I told you that when we first started.
Yes.
Dave. But, someone's tabulating all these sightings, and it just happens to be MUFON that I selected. I mean, we had Nightcap, Narcap, we have all these other uh, uh, clearinghouses, but none of them have the database that MUFON has. So I think it's important to consider that even if they have some things you don't agree with that they do, you have to understand that MUFON's not a single person. Okay, MUFON's made up of a bunch of individual dedicated people, like me and other people. I mean, so we're not at the top. We're not doing, any of the administrative stuff. So we just see the work, and boy, oh boy, I got to tell you, it is so much fun when you get cases in the and they come into you and you say, "Wow, what is this?" History Channel grabbed me years ago to do the Proof is Out There show. I've been doing it ever since. NASA's Unexplained Files grabbed me and said, "Hey, can you show us what these are?" Yeah, these are cool. So I would do the video on that shows, and the thing is, you got to keep your head, never let it go to your head, because you're only as good as your last triumph, right? And you don't want to, you want to be very careful. And and the last thing you want is have an ego in this business, man. I don't have an ego. There's no ego, because it would have been smashed long ago. Because I haven't always been right, and I don't expect to be right all the time. But I try to offer what I can, But it's really cool stuff.
Going back to, before we get to some audience questions here, going back to people misinterpreting objects in the sky, what is your idea of education for maybe us amateurs who are just spending a night on our patio counting satellites, or just seeing what's up there? What should we be looking for that we may not recognize?
Excellent question. All right, you're on your patio looking up at the sky. You don't even need binoculars or anything. You could just be laying on a blanket looking up, and you'll see satellites. And you see them move across the sky at about this rate. Some go a little faster, a little slower. The ISS goes about like this through the sky, kind of a thing. And if you ever see that thing do this, change direction, then that's something very important. All right. And another thing to keep in mind is if you look at something in the sky, and as it's going across the sky, it may look like it's coming to a stop as it gets downrange toward each horizon or from the horizon. It may look like it's stopped. Keep in mind, Earth is curved, and you're watching it recede into the distance. And so at a certain point, you're looking down its path more than you are as it's crossing. It's going the fastest it's going is going to be where it's overhead. Then as it passes you, it's going to start slowing down because you're seeing it in a more deprojected path away from you. So over time, that thing, as it goes away, as it's moving away from you, see, my finger doesn't look like it's really moving against the background, but I'm pushing it away, right? If it's going this way, you see it go by, but as it goes this way, you don't really know that my finger's not, I'm going the same speed, but I'm pushing it farther and farther away to my back. So that's what satellites do, is they head toward the horizon. They look like they're slowing down, but it's an illusion. They're really not. The International Space Station, the gossamer of space panels, the solar panels in that thing, you look at it, it looks like it could just shake apart if you shook it, and it could. Okay. That machine, that space station is traveling 17,500 miles per hour in orbit, 252 miles over your head. Wow. And the fact that there's nothing to stop it, no air, except the occasional errant molecule when the solar cycle causes the Earth's atmosphere to expand a little bit. You get a couple of molecules hitting the space station, and they tend to slow it down. And over time, you have to boost it back up in orbit a little bit. If they stop doing that, it'll eventually crash back to the Earth. So far, they have the money to keep boosting it in orbit. So again, if you watch it move through the sky and it changes direction, that's a big one. And some people will say, well, I've had one that would look like it's blinking. It goes and it's looks like it's blinking as it goes through the sky. Yeah, you can have a satellite do that too, unfortunately. And those are what we call tumblers. Imagine a let me just do it with this bottle. Imagine something traveling through space, and as it turns this way, you can see the bright body of the object, but then it turns this way, and it's no longer bright anymore. So tumbling objects will often look like they're blinking at you, and if you have a camera, and you have any kind of camera, not a cell phone camera, because they don't typically record the deep sky very well in satellites. Some do, actually. But if you have a camera, what you need to do is just take pictures of your night sky. Set up a camera, let it go. The stars will kind of trail a little bit because the Earth is rotating, to the east, and it'll rotate out from under the stars. Okay. And so you'll see, star trails, which are really pretty anyway. But then the satellite trails are going to be straight lines through those star trails. And you can, and so will meteors, by the way. So you'll be able to see a night's worth of satellite trails and meteors. And that's the best way to get a record of it. So just, if you have a camera, set it up and let it go. DSLRs. And some people have these cameras and just don't know they can do this with their camera. And wide angle is the best. Our night vision, our all sky camera out there is like 360 degree, field of view. And we catch the whole sky at once. It's really something, and we catch everything that comes through. So that's kind of what you look for, is the changing paths, again, with your eye. Now, if you want to go even further, we can talk equipment, and then you can start going into the whole incredible world of, high-tech equipment to actually look for different things in different parts of the spectrum.
Do you believe, we got 2 minutes to go before we got to go to break here. Do you believe that there are UFO hotspots out there where these craft seem to come and go as they please?
I do. And the reason I do is because there's ample evidence that they exist. I know that Santa Catalina Island off the West Coast is an area that had a hotspot for some period of time. I know that there have been hotspots in the Atlantic as well, off Puerto Rico. And so there are places on our planet that are incredibly attractive to these things for some reason. Now, someone asked me the other night, why would UFOs go to nuclear facilities? Why would they go? What's the big deal? And how would they even know? Well, actually, it's not uncommon to find that UFOs might go to a nuclear-based facility, because every single civilization that's going to come along is going to have a nuclear era. It's a fact of the universe. Nuclear power is something that every civilization will eventually find if they're doing scientific work. So it's very important to consider that a civilization that's well past that might recognize that we're in that phase now. And what they'll do is they'll observe what we're doing with it, because they know that we're doing fission reactions right now. Okay. And we have fission bombs, nuclear bombs. But sooner or later, we're going to find the particles that allow us to become part of the intergalactic family, if you will, of the universe, and go to other planets easily and other stars. And that's the Kaluza-Klein graviton approach. And sooner or later, we're going to be there. And they probably want to know how long it's going to be before they can expect that we're going to be there. I think they're scientists. I really do. I think there's scientists that come here. They experiment on us like we experiment on elk up in the Yukon. They tag us like we tag elk, except that we would recognize big, giant yellow radio collars around our necks, and so they shove things surreptitiously up our sinuses. Mine didn't function right, obviously, because I caught it and knew what was happening. So the point is that that kind of thing is very, very much real for me. And I think that they're going to be here hiding, watching us.
Marc Dantonio, we have until the top of the hour on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to get to your questions when we return on the Mighty SOR. My name is Dave Scott, and we will be right back. listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. There we go, man. We're clear.
Cool.
Great show so far. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I mean, once I get going on something, feel free to interrupt me because sometimes I don't know when to shut up. You know that.
I'm just here loving listening to you, man. When you speak, I learn a lot. So I appreciate that.
I just appreciate that you have me on, David. It's nice of you to do, and I appreciate it.
Always, my man. Always.
Yeah, so when I go to Contact, I'm doing 3 things. I'm doing a lecture, then I'm doing a Sky Tour live stream. We're going to do a event with the observatory. We're going to open the observatory from the observatory in Arizona from Palm Springs and put it up on the big screen and run a whole session for them there. So I'll have a streaming audience plus a live studio audience, basically. We've done that a few times. It's really cool. And then I'm doing what's called an intensive, where I'm going to talk about many different aspects of space. And I'm going to close with this really cool history of the Earth that I do, just to show people the timeline so they can understand why we're so attractive to an extraterrestrial species. And the timeline that I do is I put the entire history of the Earth on a roll of toilet paper, and I go out into the audience and I unroll it around them. I toilet paper the audience, Dave, and they love it. I don't know, and so there's all these milestones written on it, and people get to hold different milestones as I go around. They ask people to help, and so when we get to the final end of this 117-foot long history of the Earth, okay, at the end of this 117 feet, Lucy, 4.2 million years ago, is this far from the front, less than a quarter of an inch. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, exactly. And dinosaurs died about 18 inches ago on this scale. So dinosaurs aren't ancient history. They're recent history. And when people see that, they understand how the explosion of life can occur on a planet. And when it happens, it just doesn't stop. Now,
Yeah, it's funny because in a way different sense, similar though. I was talking to my dad the other day. We were talking about space and all this kind of stuff on FaceTime. And I said, what's kind of cool, Dad, is I may die, but the signal for my radio show will go out there forever. I'm immortal. Right. I am immortal.
You are. Effectively true. Effectively true. Cool. It is kind of cool. In fact, our show on Sunday nights, Sky Tour Radio, we've been doing it for 4 years now, maybe, and maybe a little longer, actually. And we've been doing the streams for like 5 or so, or about the same, actually. And those streams, when those get broadcast and sent out to the world, those go out as well. So all of our streams are out there too, just like yours. Just like yours. It's very cool.
Absolutely.
I do see in the chat a lot of people that are in Sky Tour as well that are here. That's cool. I had one of your guys said something like, "Who is this douchebag liar?" He said. I laughed.
I erased it.
You don't have to erase them. I don't have any problem with these guys.
I do, because my chat room is not a democracy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like if you're going to come in and be an asshole and shit on the show or shit on my guests or shit on my audience members, you don't get to play here. I call it Davianism or Davocracy or whatever you want. This isn't freedom of speech here.
Yeah, my mods, they will get rid of anyone that comes in that says things that are off color. But I've more than once gone head to head with people that have started off that way, and I've tried to win them over, basically. And here's the thing: they can't argue with science, and that's all I am. I just talk science. I'm not, and I have opinions and ideas. I don't always wear my glasses, but sometimes I do, But the thing is that these people are, they have their really harsh opinions. And sometimes you can change them and sometimes you can't. And you're right. and usually they will actually come around, but our mods usually get rid of them before I can go and see the chat. So I got a lot of mods like you, so I just think they're all gone usually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they're scrubbed.
I want to say a big thank you tonight to T-Bone ×3, W. Decker, Jenny, JSCO, Deborah Rooney, Monica, and Melvin for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support. Thank you to all of our new subscribers who rang that bell as well. And on X, for everybody listening in, thank you for the follow. If you haven't already, please do so. We'd really appreciate it. And shop at our store. We don't have ugly swag.
Yeah.
No ugly swag there. And 3 seconds, Mark.
Sure thing.
Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you tuning us in. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go, Marc Dantonio. We have until the top of the hour. We're going to get some audience questions here for you, Marc, because I know they are piling up. Start off with Tim Mothman and his goatee. Have you seen a stationary blinking light in the high noon position?
Yeah, we answered this one. He already, I think I forced it, Dave, because I saw it and I kind of responded and he stuck it up. But yeah, to reiterate, I did see that one stationary light. It wasn't blinking, though. And it could have been a weather balloon or it could have been something else. I don't know.
My last UFO sighting happened about 3-4 weeks ago now. I was just outside enjoying an evening after the show. No, I don't even think it was after the show. It was on the weekend. Yeah, it was on the weekend. And I don't get a lot of moonlight up here.
Yeah.
Where I live, which is nice. And there's not a lot of light pollution because, well, there's just not a lot of people, damn it. And,
true.
and I watched this bright white light just kind of glare up, and then it did kind of like a smile in the sky, like it took off, like the more you know symbol.
Yeah.
They used to play, but it didn't have the trail. It just kind of lit up and then did a semicircle, disappeared, and literally 2 seconds later, the next light right underneath it lit up and did the exact same semicircle.
Huh? When was this?
About 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago.
Okay, because on April 3rd, our all-sky camera caught that re-entering spacecraft from China, the Shenzhou rocket that came back in. But it went in a straight line from what we saw. So if it went in a curve, well, that's a little different.
What caught me off guard was the first one. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Okay. Yeah. But when the second one happened, literally, Mark, 2 seconds later, and followed the same trajectory as this one, I was like, okay, we got something here. We got a bingo.
Yeah, that's like a trifecta there kind of a thing, because you got a really interesting conversion of several events in one shot. That's pretty cool.
All right, let's go to JSCO. Did we do this one too?
No, actually, I kind of did. Yeah. I talked about the SkyTour live stream telescope out in the desert. Yeah. And it's SkyTour live stream or skytourlive.org. If you want to go check it out, it's pretty cool.
Aloha Dave is asking, have you seen zigzaggers? We see those all the time in Baja, California.
I have seen zigzagging objects. Yeah. And what I saw, and Aloha Dave may disagree with this, but you can't take away from the fact that some of these things are these things. I had people send me what they called zigzagging objects in the sky, and they were zigzagging objects in the sky. we're able to determine after examining each of the frames that they were seeing insects. Now, no, Dave, aloha, Dave. I'm not talking about and trying to make it sound like you saw insects and just don't know what insects are. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that some of these things were insects. The ones I saw were. I haven't seen any zigzagging objects that I've yet been able to say are truly anomalous, but I'd love to. So if you've got some, send them to Dave so he can send them to me.
All right, let's continue on. Terry wants to know, Mark, what do you think of psionics cameras for night sky watching?
They're fantastic. Those psionics cameras are among the cameras we give away with our equipment, and we run contests during the stream, and people can win a psionics camera, an Aurora Sport. The Aurora Sport or the Aurora Pro cameras, they're anywhere from $499 to $600 or $799. Yeah, I mean $500 to $800. Let's be clear, right? Or $900. So they're beautiful because they're like a camera that turns night into day, and it's in color, and I just absolutely love it. And you can use its Wi-Fi system it has on board and put it onto your phone and capture what it's seeing. Run it. I actually ran a night sky tour from here one night of a meteor shower using a psionics Aurora Sport, and I just used its capability. And if you plug it into its charger, okay, the USB-C charger that comes with it, you plug that in, you can have power all night long, which I did. And I literally ran this thing looking at the night sky at one of the meteor showers. What a class act that psionics is. So if you can get it, then you can find them on Amazon for sure. And if you want to actually a chance of getting one for nothing, you could join Sky through live stream. It's free, and come view our streams, be part of the stream in the chat. And if we're going to run a contest, you might win a psionics camera. You know, if one of your guys in chat actually won one of our telescopes. So we get around.
Love it. Let's go to T-Bone. Have you ever heard of the dragons? I'm
Yeah,
not
I have.
familiar with this. So
I have. And there's a guy that actually videotapes things in the sky, and in his particular case, I have figured out pretty much without a doubt that he's actually capturing insects. And I try to be kind to him and tell him that I think these are insects. And he can't. He thinks that by seeing a thing in the sky next to a helicopter that it's at the same distance as a helicopter, and that's certainly not true. So when he sees it race by the helicopter, he says it's got to be going thousands of miles an hour compared to if it was at the helicopter's distance. He'd be right if that was true, but he's not. It's a foreground object, and in some of his cases, you can actually see it's a pretty obvious insect. So I've heard of what he calls dragons, and I'm pretty sure that he doesn't really like me too much because I can't agree with him that what he's videotaping are dragons. Takes all kinds, I guess. But I'm respectful. I mean, I'm respectful about it.
there you are.
I don't make fun of people. I just never do. Because
All
we've
right,
all been there.
Let's go to Android. Will you review photos or videos emailed to you directly, or do they have to be submitted through MoveOn?
Oh, I've actually been doing this for years, guys. So if you've got something, you can definitely send something to me. I won't turn it away, and I won't make you go through MoveOn. I'm not like that. So I'll be happy to do it. I've done professional image analysis and so forth for a long time. I'm actually working on a court case right now for someone to help get them freed from going to jail based on video that was captured the night of the event. So that is, I take it very seriously, and I'm very happy to do it. Just send it to me. And Dave, I think you have my email that you can provide if you want at some point.
I can do that for you.
If you can, that'll be great. Then people can send it.
Perfect.
And it'll take me some time to get back to you because you can understand that there's only one chief photo and video analyst. Okay. And I get many, many, many a request, but I'm okay to as long as you're okay, I will eventually get to you.
All right, let's continue on here. Let us go to Terry again. Does intent have anything to do with sightings and trying to record them?
It's an interesting question, Terry, because you encounter people who say, let's all visualize that they want to contact us. I mean, that's part of a CE5 type thing, if I'm reading you right. And I have not seen any evidence that actually produces anything. I'm sorry. It's just because if you have seen it, I'd like to see it, but I haven't seen the evidence that it does. I think that they are somewhat interested in us for a lot of reasons. And I think part of that reason is because we are not just simple beings. We are very complicated creatures. And so that's why I think they tag us. I think they tag me. I think that's what I had happen. Okay. I think that's why they observe us. I think that's why they're interested in our technology. They do. In fact, when you look at the way they operate on this planet, it seems like they're doing the same things to us that we do to the animals on our planet that we're studying. They set up a blind. They watch us through the blind. They tranquilize and take one of us and put a tag on us. In the wild, they put a tag in a bear's ear, an ear tag, or a radio collar around elk herds. But for humans, they have to be more surreptitious because we're kind of smart. They also know that we can kill them. And one of the things that's interesting is if you look at fire ants, one fire ant can't kill you. However, if you step on the fire ant mound and you stay there, you could die from the fire ant stings. Okay. And they're nowhere near as intelligent as you. And same thing with elk, as I mentioned. Okay. You can go up to an elk and say, hey, I want to put a tag on you, and you're going to get kicked in the face with a hoof and maybe killed. So they're nowhere near as intelligent as us, but they can kill us. And that's how we are to them. We're nowhere near as intelligent, but we can kill them. So yes, they're going to be cautious. No, they're not going to land on the White House lawn or in the Kremlin. Okay. They're not going to do that. And they're going to stay hidden from us because we have numbers over them. And the only thing standing between us and them is their technology. And their technology can fail. Now, using that technique I talked to you about, the Kaluza-Klein particles, those gravitons that they surround their ship with actually prevent the Earth gravitons trying to pull them down to the Earth from getting to the ship. So that's why they're always in a state of anti-gravity when they're here, because sometimes they actually kind of float around like a fluttering leaf on the wind. That's because they don't need to stabilize. The gravitational particles, if they exist from the Earth, can't reach them. And so that's part of the process. So, when they shut off their reactor and they come down, they land on the Earth and they come out, when they come out, the ring is not active. If it was, they get bathed in synchrotron radiation, because even they probably haven't solved it. It's a physics thing. It's a universal constant. If you try to move particles in a circle in a magnetic field, they're going to give off synchrotron radiation, which is not good for you, okay, or them. So when they shut it off, they're very vulnerable. They'll be sitting on their ground, all right, and they'll get out, they'll do some things, and when they go back to their ship, they'll start up their accelerator, and they'll shift away, and then shift back in other places, and that's how they do it. They pop in and out. So if they do that, there is vulnerability. They can be killed. They can be hurt. Sometimes the accelerator might fail, and then they'll be suddenly subject to all of the forces that the Earth has to throw at them. And in the same way that if we went back with an F-16 fighter to the Revolutionary War, we could just clean house, right? However, a lucky bullet shot from a flintlock could take out an engine on the F-16 and it could crash. So as advanced as our technology could be, and seen in the light of like an ancient people, we can still be vulnerable. And I think that's how they are too. They're also vulnerable for the same reasons.
Excellent answer, Mark. Let's go to another question from our audience. Go to Christine. Mark, is there a good satellite app we should use?
Absolutely. There's one out there on the iPhone called Go Sat Watch, and it might also be available on the Android platform, but Go Sat Watch. So Go, SAT, then Watch, WATCH. And that program will give you all the times of passage. It's got tons of them. You can hold your phone up. We'll show you the sky live and show you the satellites that are going by right then and there. You can get alerts. I've used it so much in the past. So GoSat Watch is very good for satellites. And if you want to just look at the night sky and get a night sky app, then the one that I would highly recommend to you is one that I literally spend money for, and that's Sky Guide. Sky Guide does some amazing things. You see the, you can't see it here, but you can kind of see it. You can see everything, but you can zoom in and zoom in. Look at all those stars. You can zoom in and zoom in and zoom in for a very far, and then check things out. Get an idea of what's up in the night sky over your head. Hold it up. It does augmented reality, okay, which is AR, and you can actually see the thing that's under that bright thing in the sky. Point it at the sky, and that's what it is. It's called Sky Guide. People have other like Star Walk and these others. Sky Guide is by far the best one. Right? So for satellites, go Sat Watch, and for just looking at the sky, Sky Guide.
All right, Tim again. Mark, are you familiar with the Goldie phenomena in Anza, California?
I am unfamiliar with that phenomena. Do you know what it is, Dave?
I have no clue. I'm about to Google it.
Okay. All right. Well, so look, the bottom line is, I see Dave has a thing there, Bigfoot breeding area behind his head, and I'll tell you right now, okay, I'm not someone that thinks that Bigfoot doesn't exist. I mean, it could. I don't see any reason why not. Okay, there's species we find underwater all the time. When the marine research is done. In fact, I know many people from Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, scientists that have been to the Titanic and beyond, and I know that there's so many species that they find on each dive that we've never seen before. So I don't think there's any reason why I would say that there's no such thing as Bigfoot. In fact, I have a fleet of drones here, and I actually outfitted one of my drones. In fact, I hacked it, and I added a FLIR camera to it. So I can control a FLIR camera on one of my drones now. I've offered it to the Bigfoot people, and no one's ever taken me up on it. And we never even got to even talking about, the cost of getting there, sending it out there. It's just no one's ever taken me up. So, I mean, if they want to know if it's there, don't you want to use equipment to confirm it and prove it? So I can't understand why they won't let me prove it for them.
Come up here, Mark. We'll go looking for big.
I'd go. I'd have a ball.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a couple of good hotspots.
Yeah, see, that's important. Yeah.
I think so.
So what's this Goldie phenomenon? What did it say?
I don't know. I couldn't find it on Google.
All right. Well, Tim is going to have to explain it.
We'll get him to explain it. Android is wondering, where can I get one of those UFO models from? Looks like the sport model.
Oh, yeah. We sell these on our website. Now, I own a visual effects company and model making business. That's what I do a lot of work for the Navy. But I make these as well. These are they're made to sit. There's a hole in the bottom. It sits on a stand. We make that too. And you can get them from fxmodels.com. And I have a feeling that when you go there, you might be tricky because we just redid the website. So it might be tricky to find these on there. But we do sell them. They're still there. I will have to help you out, though. And you can send me an email at info@fxmodels.com. That's fxmodels.com. So you can find me that way, and we can converse and get you these things if you want them. We also make the Belgian Triangle, the Heflin UFO, because why not? I think the Heflin UFO was a hoax, but I think that it's part of the classic culture, and so therefore it deserves inclusion, even though it was a hoax.
Well, that's good. That's good. I'm looking at your website right now.
Yeah, a lot of submarine stuff on there, but there's also the UFO models. I have to find where they are. My son redid it for me. He makes beautiful websites. And he stopped that job, and he now works for the biggest television station in the state. So he's very busy. He's there now, so he can't answer any questions for me.
All right, let's go to another question here. We got 4 minutes, so I might not be able to get to them all. Brown Dwarf is asking, if the dragons are bugs, what kind of insect are they?
There's, I actually, a very good question, because sometimes I can see the wing beats, okay? And depending on the frequency, the frame rate of the video, I can determine how many wing beats occur per second. And based on the wing beats per second, we can actually determine what potential insects they are. Interesting, isn't it? And especially when people take photographs, the bugs look like lines, and then they have these extensions every so often on them. Those extensions are the wings. Okay. And by counting them and knowing how long the exposure was, we can determine how many wing beats per second we're catching here. And wing beats are very, very important to understanding different insects, because the wing beats are different for many different insects. And if you capture that data, you can determine almost exactly what bugs you're looking at. In terms of the dragons, I have seen on the video, I've seen them. I don't know what insects they are. They're probably some kind of beetle that's flying around down there, because they're big enough to be seen as beetles. They're not birds, because actually birds leave a different type of trail altogether, right? But they're definitely foreground objects that I think are insects, and I think beetles mostly.
Well, all right. 2 minutes to go. Let's go to Paramarv here. There was a researcher years ago who claimed to be seeing what they call rods, and even caught some on video film. Have you ever looked into that?
Absolutely. And I just mentioned a case where on video, if they use PAL video, a different format than NTSC that we use in America, you can actually see the gossamer wing beats of a bug as it's flying through, and it makes this sine wave pattern. And what happens is, because of the frame rate, it seems to have a certain length to it. And so you see this sinusoidal thingy moving through the frame. You say, wow, what is that? And it is really cool looking. Alas, it's only an artifact of the video and the frame rate on the video, proven time and time again by people who've taken the charge to say, okay, I'm going to set up my PAL. I'm going to release some insects. Let's see what we get. Look, we got rods. So that was good enough for me. That was good enough for me to figure out that these things were actually video artifacts. And it makes sense based on the way the camera frames are being, how do you say, the interlaced, for in every single frame, the way they work together. So I think that's something that is older news. At the time, it was considered cool, but and new. But I think we do have an understanding of it now.
All right, Mark, we got about 45 seconds. Where can people find all your really cool information, your podcast, and everything that goes along with what you do?
Yeah, we're all things Sky Tour. You go to SkyTour, SKYTOUR, SkyTourLive.org. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. You can go to SkyTour Radio at KGRA. And you can also go to fxmodels.com, which is my business that I run. I'm in the bunker, So SkyTourLive.org. SkyTour live stream is our stream, our nighttime telescope stream. And if you go to SkyTourLive.org, in the upper left, you'll see, you'll see SkyTour, the podcast. On the upper right, you'll see the Patreon, and then other information. You scroll down, you get framed pictures. It's all there for all of you, man.
Marc Dantonio, thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio. Coming up next, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing, Travis William Moostus will be here
You're
with the Crypted
listening
Report.
to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Beautiful, Mark. Beautiful.
Is that okay? You like it?
Thank you for coming on, buddy.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was very kind of you. Yeah, it was a good time. Yeah.
Well, let's do it soon and have fun at Contact, man.
I will. We'll see what happens. You know.
Yep. Stay away from all the bars and all the autograph seekers.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna be giving away equipment there like crazy. So, we're gonna be giving away telescopes, binoculars, while
Nice.
we're there. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, my friend. I will
All right,
let you
man.
go. You have a great night, okay? Thank you for staying up late.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. And to all your listeners, thank you guys. You guys are fantastic. So hang out with us if you want. Sky through a live stream on YouTube.
Will do, buddy. Take care.
Thanks, man. All right. Bye-bye.
Good night. Marc Dantonio, everybody. One of the good guys in ufology. Love him. Absolutely love him. I'll be right back. You guys get comfy. Okay, I am back. How we all doing tonight? We having a good time? It's all good, man. I'm having a good blast. Thank you so much to our super chatters tonight. JSCO, Deborah Rooney, T-Bone with a hat trick, Jenny, Monica, and W. Decker. Very much appreciate the love and support, everybody. Thank you very much as we continue on here. Don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag. And Rob G will be filling in for me Thursday and Friday night while I am in Nebraska at the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference. So let's have a good time. Here we go with hour 3. Here we go at the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you. Actually, let me say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Please join us at youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We continue on tonight with Steve Stockton from Among the Missing and another spooky story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. Another life form may have escaped the crater in the form of a cryptid called bat Squatch. Yes, you heard correctly, bat Squatch. Soon there would be sightings of the creature, and it would beg the question, where did this thing come from? Bat Squatch, which is a cross between a bat and Sasquatch, is said to reside in or on Mount St. Helens, using the thick forest as cover and shelter. Described as being 6 to 8 feet tall, having a wolf-like snout, blue fur, glowing yellow or red eyes, sharp serrated teeth, bird-like feet, and bat-like wings spanning up to 50 feet. It said those who have had the misfortune of encountering the beast were so frightened by the sighting, some refused to return to the area where they saw it. People who have had encounters with the strange creature equate the May of 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens to the release of bat Squatch from the Earth's core, along with the molten rock that caused devastation to much of the park and left that same devastation for hundreds of miles. Even here in St. Helens, Oregon, where I live, so named because you can see Mount St. Helens, which is across the river in Washington State. I've talked to some people that were living here at the time, and they told of how they didn't see the sun for weeks, and a fine ash covered everything. Now, one of the first sightings of this bat Squatch creature was reported by Brian Canfield in the foothills of Mount Rainier, north of Mount St. Helens. In April of 1994, Brian Canfield was driving through Pierce County, Washington, when suddenly his truck died. While Canfield sat in his truck, scratching his head and figuring out how to get it started again, he recalled looking up and seeing a large creature land right in front of him. It was standing there, staring at me, like it was resting, like it didn't know what to think. I was scared. It raised the hair on me. I didn't feel threatened. I just felt out of place, Canfield recounted. He continues, after a few moments, the creature's fingers twitched. The wings began to unfold, wings that were as wide as the whole road, and it took off in the direction of Mount Rainier. The wings were so massive, the wind from the turbulence shook Canfield's truck. After a few moments, Canfield tried to start his truck up again, and it roared to life as if there'd never been an issue. Brian Canfield continued on his way home, and for the remainder of his trip, never even stopped for traffic signals. Arriving home, Brian quickly grabbed a piece of paper and attempted to draw from memory what he could remember the creature. All the noise he was making woke his sleeping parents, and they inquired as to why he was so wound up. And that's when he told them what happened and what he saw. They insisted on Brian taking them to the area to look for clues as to what the thing could be, and a neighbor even agreed to take the family back to the area using directions from Brian. When they arrived, though, there was no trace of Bat Squatch. Interviews conducted by C.R. Roberts, the reporter that took the initial counts of Brian Canfield, stated he, Canfield, was just an average, normal kid. Brian Canfield was 18 years old at the time of encounter and not known to give in to flights of fancy. Roberts vouched for him after listening to the story, and Brian Canfield has what might be the best documented encounter with Bat Squatch. However, there was a handful of other reported sightings. In 1998, an unnamed man reported seeing two similar-looking creatures, one of which was injured after being struck by a logging truck on a trail in Mount St. Helens. In 2009, a group of hikers near Mount Shasta in California reported seeing a winged creature with a 50-foot wingspan fly from a crevasse in the mountain. In 2011, a man out for a walk with his dog reported seeing a blue-furred animal flying in the sky around where he was and watched as it flew from sight. And perhaps the last known sighting in 2014, Archbishop Hoban High School in Akron, Ohio, reported an entire class seeing a giant black mass whip past their window with incredible speed.
Thank you to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing for another spooky story. If you want more just like that, head on over to youtube.com/Among the Missing, and you get great stories just like that for free. Just hit subscribe and ring that bell. From the missing to the mysterious, the man, the myth, and the legend, all wrapped into one. From the Cree Nation, north of Edmonton, Alberta, Travis Willier-Moostus and the Crypted Report. Travis Willier-Moostus, how you doing? I saw a picture of you online the other day that you posted. I didn't know you were in the Canadian Armed Forces.
Yeah, I did basic military qualifications, and I was through like a NATO program there and stuff like that. And yeah, it was cool. it was many years ago, but yeah, that's part of my history, I guess.
How long did you serve?
Like I said, I was like trained, and then they had me in the system for like probably 5 years or so. Like,
good for you.
Thanks.
Good for you. We just heard a story from Mount St. Helens area of Bat Squatch. Have you ever had to deal with one of these creatures?
No. Like a bat squatch? Like, is that like just like a giant bat creature?
It's like a bat mixed with a Sasquatch. So a Sasquatch with wings, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of figured that was what it was going for. No, that would be like the dark thing I was talking about. Eventually, when it evolves, it can have these wings that it will eventually grow when it's like almost like tree height at that point, and it's starting to like just knock teepees over with a hit, and picking people up and swallowing and just biting. That kind of, yeah. So this creature would get huge, right? And then, like I said, eventually when it devoured enough humans and souls, and eventually it grew wings, and it was like, massive, and people would probably think that would be like a Sasquatch, but eventually, like I said, some of these things evolve and they start to grow wings, and then the last one that grew that big, a lot of nations try to band together and fight it, and then they chase kind of north of Alaska, and a little bit of BC border area, I should say, northern border of BC, and the thing took off in the sky, it took off flying, and they fired at it, and it flew into the clouds, and ever since then everyone was kind of afraid that it would return one day and come back for us, kind of deal. But like I said, that was what the worst case scenario, where we couldn't defeat it, and eventually it reached a point where it couldn't be destroyed, right? So I forget I just mentioned.
Very interesting. Okay, I want to talk to you about something we don't normally talk about. That is sea monsters. We tend to hear all these sorts of sea monsters, whether they're dragons, whether they're, oarfish, whether they're sturgeon or whatever it may be, because I know like from growing up near the Fraser River, the white sturgeon could get up to the size of a great white shark, which is up to 20 feet long. So, I mean, have you had to deal with any sea monsters?
Aside from Machu Picchu being known for roaming the lakes and the rivers out here in Alberta, northern Alberta, and like Saddle Lake area and stuff like that, we know that this creature has underground tunnels, like underground river tunnels that is able to swim through and go to different lakes and across the inner earth and all over. There's some like underwater lakes that exist, and it has access to that, and that's how it's preserved itself, along with like other fish and other things that are down there too, I should say. And strange kind of like different kind of looking like starfish and different kind of like looking urchins and different kind of plank, like I should say bottom of the sea floor life that just never really quite never was exposed to the surface world, like over all these millions of years, and they're still kind of like in their strange evolving I should say stages. And so like I'm just saying, like with a lot of fishes out there too, we've had like massive huge like strange looking sturgeons, and also I'm just trying to remember what else was spotted recently that was kind of like an anomaly. But yeah, like I said, just the massive it's almost like a serpent. At times they can be described having legs too, and it would climb out of the water, some of them, the variants of them, and go roaming across the land. They hunt animals like the size of a buffalo. Even when they get big enough, they could actually just take apart a buffalo. And so like some of the land, like serpent animals and creatures at the time are almost like prehistoric beings, like I said, like stuff that survived from millions of years ago and just kind of carried on forward. And very much one of the ancient guardians in that sense, I should say.
Have you heard of them? I remember talking to a gentleman about the Ogopogo in Lake Okanagan, and he tended to believe that this sea monster actually had wings and could fly out of the lake and go into different lakes. Have you heard this theory?
Yeah, there's been strange stuff like that has like moved from lake to lake, and people mentioned these areas or said that some of these places have been like like I said, they've been visited or had like some sort of creature that left the lake or left that area and moved to a different place. But I haven't had any encounters with something like that would fly, like you know what I mean? Like I haven't had any encounters myself, but I've heard the stories, like like everyone else. But yeah, no, that'd be quite something else to see it like that.
Do you think they're dinosaurs?
Some of them are, and some of them are genetic experiments from other extraterrestrials that have been here in the past, and that have visited cities and from the previous civilizations and times and forgotten records, I should say.
So you do believe that possibly there could be dinosaurs still living on this planet?
Oh yeah, definitely. And like and the fish too, and like some of the creatures, like some of the I should say some of like the octopuses, and certainly some of the squids, and that have been and serpents, I should say, that have been known to swim in the oceans and things like that. Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah.
Okay, so if there is dinosaurs that still exist, do you think they are just sea monsters, or do you think they're walking through the forest as well?
Oh yeah, no, there are some that like I said, some that can go into the woods and or come out of the water and walk on land, and there are some that have been like I said, able to slither onto the land, and there have been these records kept in I should say in the old pictoglyphs and the cave paintings and stuff like that. And they've been kept like as I should say the stories of how they would be, certain different variants and kinds that would climb out of the rivers and the lakes and stuff, right? So that would hunt, and, our livestock, or the I should say the animals we'd live off or be in the area hunting, or like we'd see it going down. And some of these experiments were told about in legend, like some of the hunting parties that hunt some down, some of these giant snakes, and they'd be so genetically modified that when they ate them, they turned into like hybrids themselves and start having like black scaled arms, and until they became like snake men themselves and stuff, and might it be like the young boy to go running back because he chose not to eat the snake with the hunting party, and he'd be like, he'd be back there like telling the shaman or whoever was like the headman at that tribe, like, hey, the hunting party just turned into snakes back there, and you need to come check this out, right? And people would go and look and find these snakes and then they have like a snake honoring snake warrior snake ceremonies where they bring like offerings to the mountains. And like I said, these people were keeper of the mountains, right? Some of these snake men and women and beings like that.
Snake beings. Oh, what's the difference between a snake being and a reptilian?
Oh, they're very much similar. Reptilian is just like a broad kind of description of that. There's lizard folks and different kind of like I said, different kind of variants of dragon people, Goakon and guinea pig, and there's a few of them that we have like been known to have dealt with or had interactions with over the time, right? So, when people say reptilians, it's kind of our, it's just kind of a broad, like a general term for them all, right? But we would call them guinea pig, napuyos, or guinea pig, esqueos, right? Like esqueoa. But so it's like there's a few things, like a few different variations of these beings out there. Like I said, the dragon people too were very esoteric, and they came from different dimensions and with blessings, and same thing with the bird guardians and the thunder beings and all these different higher dimensionals that would come through with with messages or with connections to the universe for us, right? So they were all very much documented and very much known about to this day. So, and they're still around.
Still around. That's amazing. I want to switch topics and go over to alien beings right now, because I know you deal a lot with extraterrestrial beings and so on and so forth. And one of the things that has popped up lately with one of the newest whistleblowers that has come out is blue-skinned humanoid aliens. Have you ever had any encounters with blue-skinned humanoid aliens?
You know what? There's a lot of tales about the early medicine wheel colors, and like today's medicine wheel is yellow, red, black and white, right? So there's, it's like there's that one, but the old one used to have very different colors in blue and green and purple and orange, and those were the original like skin color types of the ancient world. And a lot of these colors were lost when a lot of the earlier weapons were activated on this planet and changed the skin color of all the races. And this is what the elders would talk about, like how a lot of those ancient cities used their technologies on themselves and kind of destroyed themselves. And so like but there's different medicine wheels, like the colors, right? And they were representing the different skin colors and beings of that time. And and also to like the dimensions, and like I said, the dimensions in which they come from. And it's a very very unique thing.
With the different types of beings that are out there, are we looking at a bunch of different humanoids that are walking around with us on this planet?
Oh yes, a lot of people have traces of these different ancient cultures and visitors that have come and gone, and that are still around, and that are returning. And also, like, that's a lot of the reason why a lot of people are having a lot of these visions is because those connections are reawakening with their practice of the inner work, inner sight, and that's all part of this universal connection that's going to be taking place. And like I said, a lot of cultures and a lot of beings all across the world have this connection and a lot of traces to it. And so, you know, a lot of us in many ways, our spirits are a part of that reincarnation process that carry a lot of extraterrestrial memories and DNA, and that's part of that connection as well, because it's timeless for some of these beings, I should say.
With the beings that are here, do you think that they are coming down from space, or do you think that they've already been here a long time?
Oh, there's some that've been here so long, and but in the universal timeline, it's just a blink of like a blink of an eye, But some have been here far longer than we can even understand, right? And they built bases and have had installations and structures that allow them to return, that are deep within our planet and within the places around the planet, and the connections are I should say deep. Like a lot of the spirituality, in the native world and our, especially Neo and Neo people, we carry a lot of that, the teachings from the star being Zaka Kosak, Samana, and we hold that very true to that. And like I said, there are some that are still around to this day that are on this earth, and they're kept secret. And then there are some out there that are just flying by and visiting, and some that are able to be right beside us dimensionally, and we don't even see it or feel it, or it's just a place within the I should say within the frequency, right? And that's a whole other topic there.
Well, what is that topic? Are we allowed to discuss that?
Yeah, sure, we can.
We
It's a very unique thing. Some of these beings are there, and they have these connections to us, and they're there for our guidance and part of that connection to the universe. So when we're out in the I should say in these moments of time when we're really following our path, and so when I'm out there in these in these ceremonies and things like that, they do come through, and they do I should say honor us with their presence in this universe, in this time, because we have built that I should say that connection, and that's part of what we do. We when we as beings is we're carrying these connections of these unseen guardians, and these connections that I should say flow through the expression of life itself, and that's part of the process for everyone, and it's part of the connection to the universe, and that's honestly what whether these beings are on a higher level, and they're transferring down from our universal reality in this connection, right? And like I said, it's just right there, but it's them, it's like a transfer of energy that they're able to do, and they're able to come down to this level, but usually they don't. But it's only in times when we can actually open up that connection within ourselves and the universe around us in that time, and like I should say, the enlightenment of everyone and that connection, right? It really, I should say, they really they honor that, they honor that true enlightenment and that true honoring of the universe, and humility of that, right? And the respect of that. They really see that. And that's what I mean. Yep. Like, always watching over us, and they're always around.
Travis, hold on right there. We're going to go to break here. Final break of the night on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Crypted Report with Travis William Mootshoots continues after this.
This is Spaced Out Radio, and your host, Dave Scott.
That's beautiful stuff right there. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. I'm a fan. Big time fan. What's happening, Willie?
Oh, it's been good. Other than all, like, I've been actually getting a lot more of the crafts in the sky. So, but tonight's been a lot. Like I said, it's a full moon tonight, so a lot of brightness in the sky, and so it's a little harder to get the ships caught on camera and things. But like I said, last couple of days I've been getting a lot more flyovers and flybys and like flashes that have been like, they fly by and then they flash up and then they, you know what I mean, like they're entering by or entering in our atmosphere, and they continue on, and it's very cool, very cool stuff. So I'm looking to get more of that footage, hopefully for like I said, for future times or whatever, right? Like
So that's good.
Yeah, and I've been preparing for like I said, I might have to do, well, coming up is a big thing for me, right? I have a big job to do, and that's like to archive a lot of our elders, like I should say, what they want to share about their experience in life and things, right? So I have to really prepare for that, and so I've been just aligning things in my life and preparing for that, and so the adventure awaits, I should say.
Rock and roll, man. Rock and roll. How's the weather up there?
It's been windy. But a little cloudy here and there. Some nights it's overcast, and then I go out the next hour and it's clear, and I'm like, okay, all right, let's go.
Yeah. Is your area much like mine, where it's kind of like, if you need a weather change, just wait 20 minutes?
Yeah, it's been like that. Literally, even the days too. All of a sudden, like with the snow, and then all of a sudden it's not snow the next 2 days later.
Yeah, but you should be through the snow by now, shouldn't you?
Oh, it was like a little. There was like a little sprinkle there a couple days ago, but now it's it's fully gone now.
Yeah. I know that feeling. I'm very happy about that. Very happy. I don't like the April snow. That just pisses me off.
Oh yeah, it gets a lot of gardeners mad out here. It's just they get it all set up, and then that comes down and ruins it all.
Well, I can say this, man. I have to watch what I put in my garden because the deer eat it all.
Ah, damn. Yeah, that's a bummer. I had to set up a little crow scarecrow thingy because crows are starting to set up nests in the trees and stuff. So I had a bunch of crows to deal with, in a sense.
All right, we got about 2 minutes here.
But you know what's funny is like the rabbits, they seem to respect it. Like, I don't know what it is, but they just they respect it. And when I clear it out, and anything that I have left over, I throw off to the side for them, usually for the fall, right? And they take it, they harvest it too. So it's kind of funny. Like, but they leave it all year round. They don't take nothing out or mess with it. So I kind of like that.
I like that too. Mm-hmm. All right, we got about 1 minute, about a minute and a half here. Fun times tonight.
Yeah. No, it's excellent stuff. Glad to be on. Thanks for having me on, Dave, and hello to all the fans. Hope you're having a lovely night out there.
Well, we always love it when you're here, my man. Always love it when you're here. All right, big thank you tonight to W. Decker, T-Bone with a hat trick, Jenny, JSCO, Melvin, Monica, Deborah Rooney for the super chats. And, 1, 2. Yeah, I got them all. Just want to make sure. I always feel bad if I leave someone out. Drives me nuts. Got about 25 seconds here. Yep. Almost there, Trav. Five seconds. Here we go, the final half hour, Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Travis Willier Moostus is here for the Crypted Report. And if you're in our YouTube chat and you have questions for Travis, put them in capital letters and I will get them to him. We were talking about aliens walking around, and you're starting to see a little bit more craft in the sky, you were saying.
Yeah, the last little while, that's been, one thing that has picked up is the crafts have returned and have been flying over, and I'll get a few flare ups here and there, it not just a flash. It'll be like a full on, looks like ion burning in the sky, and then it goes back to its first dim light, and then it's still flying by and still going off and to the north, and then off some that are just flying constantly over, and they're moving a little faster, like I said, faster than normal, and some will actually slow down and stop. And the ones that I've been able to capture have been all right. I showed a video there of one that I had flying over there a couple nights ago on Rob's show, which was all right, so, but as I said, the area is kind of picking up, and that could be just they're interested in what's going on out here, or what's happening, or maybe they're interested in the animals getting up or coming back around, or I'm still questioning what they're they're flying over, or if it's connection to me, then that's kind of cool too. But it's nice to see them flying by, and when I do get a chance, I consider it a blessing or a sign from the universe that it's they're coming back around, and that energy is I should say the connection to the universe is true, and it's a sign that that's the case, right? So that's what I take it as.
Always. Let's see where we are here. Have you, over your time, been able to decipher which type of species flies which craft?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I've been on a couple of the ones that I've really had interesting talks with are, I should say, Pleiadian Andromedans, and I've been on a lot of their, their motherships, and I've seen a lot of their crafts that they've had, and let me just say, some of them are, are literally alive, and others are straight up programmed to. They sense other crafts, when they're in the ship, they actually sense other crafts that are flying by, and so they don't ever crash each other, and usually they're made with solid materials and different kind of I should say it's advanced metals, crystal metals, and they're a lot stronger than what we make our buildings with and what we construct our vehicles with. So these things, they don't fall apart or break down too easy, and yeah, so Pleiadians, they'll have a lot of Pleiadian Andromedans have a lot of gold cigar shaped ships that have very interesting interiors. A lot of them are bare, but you're able to walk to little command centers and little terminals and stuff. You can literally walk up the side of the walls, and with this, when the ship powers up and it parks itself sideways, I should say the cylindrical object parks sideways and into a charging pod, and it, like, you know, when you enter it, it's like some you can go through the side, or you can, just like a portal. They have this, you can go right in, and you can walk right up and down the walls, and it's part of the suit when the suit connects to the ship, and you literally, like, you can control these things with with the mind and your telepathic connection to the ship, and or sometimes you'll hold like a little iron ball in your hand, or a triangle or a square, and a lot of Pleiadians, they'll have the flight crafts, like, and these are like almost like on the Arcturian level of dimensional crafts, and the Arcturians have the best ships. You know, you can only get there through spirituality and higher vibrational frequency, and that's how they usually receive you, through their I should say through their portals, and how they have to like transfer your energy into their ships and to bring you through on their dimensional level. And yeah, and they, you know, that's a whole other process in itself. But the Pleiadians, like I said, have been kind of like, you know, they showed me like that, I should say, diamond shaped tetrahedron style shaped ships, and I should say arrowhead kind of, like, not arrowhead, but like arrow, like boomerang kind of style ships, and those ones are the best. Like, those ones are the fastest, and they can actually fly within frequency. Like I said, they could be right there, and we wouldn't even see it. That's just like how much they could, like, how advanced in technology it is. Like, and the other beings, they can't attack it because it's on such a higher level frequency. So like their density can't even touch it at all, and that's what just scares them. And that's actually what they're looking out for, and that's what they don't want. They're scared of right now.
I like that. Out of all the species that you've dealt with through your time as being a monster hunter through the Cree Nation, how many of them have tried to be violent with people?
Well, actually, there's been a good number of cases throughout my life, you know, since I was young, that I've witnessed and was there to, you know, be a part, like, to see like what, like the ceremony and how they cleared it or cleansed it, or I've seen the attacks, like the things that have been left behind on folks, or, you know, even things that have been cleared off of them, or what happened, right? Or, like, I should say, like the remains of animals, and you know, or places that I've you know, seen photos and things like that of the places that have been scratched, or siding that has been ripped off, and little things like that over the years, and or just even tracks, or, you know, places in the woods that have, you know, had destruction, like, you know, from some sort of creature going on, and you know, just like, you know, little things like that people show you, like even videos that I've since tried to ask for, like from the guy himself, and he said he got locked out of his old computer, and he couldn't get back in, and couldn't get that video that he had of this beautiful, it was like, you could see the mothership, like a mothership just flying over with the thunder clouds, and it was like flying over the land and stuff, and it was the black silhouette of it just going across, and it was a beautiful video, and I wish I kept it that time, but I you know, I was just thinking, hey, I'll get it from him later, and, you know, just he couldn't get into it, his computer after that, right? So you know, like so, you know, there's been a few things like that have been quite that have chased people too down the roads. Like this one lady told me how she was chased by a goat man, and it chased her down the road, and you know, like it followed her all the way back, and she's like, she can like it was like when she was near like the place where she was going to. It was, you know, it was a very scary moment for her, but she mentioned that, and then I've had people tell me about like the goat beings, like, you know, jumping around in the fields, and they've seen it like walking up in the field towards them, and they're out there drinking in the vehicles, and then they're driving away, and it's like jumping, chasing them, and you know, like, so there's been a few of those like wild ones that have happened like that, and or it's just been it would run right beside the vehicle, and the vehicle's just driving its fastest, and some of those things like that, right? So, you know, there's been a lot of those tales, but there's a lot that also outweigh like a lot of good that also outweighs the bad, right? Like I've heard a lot more about the good things too, and a lot of the blessings and things that people have, you know, received and done, or, you know, things that have been, you know, people that have, you know, encountered other creatures out there and stuff, but they were in a good blessing or in a good vision, or, you know, So there's a lot of that, right? A lot more of that I've heard too. Like good stories like that were very mystical and unique in that sense. So, but yeah, no, there are the stories like I mentioned. Like I said, the dog man was one I mentioned on here too, where it attacked the wagons and stuff. So, but like I said, they're out there.
As the weather starts to get warmer, especially for us here in the north, cryptids and animals start to come alive. What's alive around your area right now?
Oh, everything. Bears woke up. We have all the everything. Kyle wolves, the coyotes, the wolves, literally the lynxes, everything, all the cougars, everything, all are all coming back alive. I literally see the bugs like crawling around, but the ducks are quacking, and it's just a matter of time before the rivers start unthawing and the frogs are out and all of them have access back to the lands, and it's that's when it's going to be good, right? I get to get back in there and go check some of these places out and things out and go be part of the land again. And yeah, I've since bought some some new level level 2 body armor, and kind of I've upped myself for that kind of quest again. And like I said, I've prepared myself in various different ways, and to keep myself safe in that sense. So it's been good. It's been good preparing.
Do the cryptids start coming out before or after animals start kind of getting more active coming into spring from winter?
Well, it all depends. Like dimensional spirits are always like around, and things always are kind of they get a little bit more active in the winter times and stuff. And as for like the other cryptids, like more of like the ones that walk on our physical earth, or that have that have certain times a year where they're able to use the the portals of the moon, full moons, and able to come into through the forest, right, and harvest and go back, and that's why a lot of our folks would refer to these beings as like the moon beings, or the beings from the moon world, because when the full moon would happen, these portals would happen, and these beings would come through, different kind of beings, not from the same place, but a lot of folks thought they were coming from the same place at one time, right? And there was a lot of tales about stuff like that, and how they'd come and take the meals or move our food or something like that, and or harvest the animals in the land. But so it is a very interesting time right now for these cryptids, and yeah, it is like picking up because of the springtime and the progress of the summer coming along.
I love it. I think it's great to see every year. Like I'm walking around my area now, especially in the evening, right before I come into the studio to do this show, and just watching the deer everywhere. I mean, it's so comforting, but when it happens, you still have to watch for the predators that are out there. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, it's definitely it's definitely a thing you have to look out for. Like the average cougar can drag a 280-pound man up a tree, no problem. So like you gotta keep watch for that. And I've encountered a couple of those, and walking in the woods, and you hear them most of the times before you see them. So if you hear them, just back away and keep your eyes scanning the sky and around the area, and keep that your whatever you got to defend yourself, whether that be your whatever you got, a rock on the ground or something, and just walk backwards, and like get out of there slowly as you can, but efficiently, right? I should say, try not to never run from a predator, because they'll chase you, and that's like part of like the I'm just talking safety for people out there, average, like that's just number one rule: don't run from them, because they're gonna chase you. That's just natural thing. Anything will. So I just figured I mentioned that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We got about 7 minutes to go here on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Cryptid Report with Travis Willier-Moostus. Travis, in all of the areas that you have studied, what is some of the most dangerous creatures you have collided with?
Well, most of the time, the spirit world and stuff like that is pretty straightforward. It's the ones like when you're out there and they're it's very interesting what they could mean or what they possibly stand for. Like when you start to encounter some of these mystical beings, especially if it's just a sighting or if it's or if you're actually having to deal with it in spiritual level or build things and and then they leave behind stuff or it's like on that level it's kind of like it's more of like one like where are they going with it or how they and so it's always like a trying to be step ahead of most of the times that they're doing, right? So the most nefarious ones I would have to say were a lot of a lot of the buffalo man-eater being spirits that were destroying houses and destroying things and they even though they were like dimensional levels, they were still able to just bust down doors and break down windows and destroy things around a house literally and they were still that connected in within the world and stuff like that, right? So to deal with that or to see that on that level was pretty intense and and how I've watched how they've literally deteriorated people's souls and to the point where they've taken their lives like that, right? And so it's very it's very, you gotta be very safe, you gotta be very careful and have the right things to keep yourself safe out there and the right teachings to deal with them. I should mention that.
Have you ever been personally attacked by any of these?
Yeah, a lot of these creatures, like I should say dark ones and stuff like that, dealing with them from others and but it's having a strong will and being strong and not afraid of it, and they can't touch you, right? But I've had to deal with a lot of it and terrible things, terrible ones, and I'm just so happy that I was able to get rid of a lot of those things and get, help the people that I helped. And it's a tough subject to talk about there, but it is a tough one to talk about, but like I should say that, dealing with them and keeping a strong self and not allowing them to destroy you in those moments and things like that have been key to survival and keeping strong and connected with my teachings and in those moments have kept me safe, I should say. And for, like I said, for dealing with them it's always a different thing, or when it comes down to like the subject or what it is, right, what we're dealing with, and we go from there, right?
3 minutes ago with you, Travis, when people are having their own encounters with cryptids and monsters, is it much like with predatory animals, don't run away?
Well, yes and no. A lot of times spiritual places and attachments and things like it happens in the unseen world too, right? And a lot of times people will get hurt from the spirit world very badly, and wounds will happen or things will happen, and bad misfortunes or things, and to help people, to get rid of them or to get rid of the things that have entered their place because they've opened dimensions within their homes or they brought things back in. It's that's where it's that's where a lot of that happens, is when they have to deal with that kind of thing, when people are allowing that kind of stuff in. So like I said, it's important to keep yourself safe out there and don't I should say, there are certain items that people have to use to get rid of certain beings and certain things the spirit world helps you with, right? So it's not just always me, like in a sense, like certain times I'll have to have help from the spirit world too, right? And for people too, the ones that I'm helping, it has to be up to them too to help, and feel the power of the universe, and if you want to call that the power of God our creator, or Wakenton, or you want to call it, Dawi Mao, or you want to call it, whatever, like I'm saying, the light of the universe, right? It's all the same. It's all the same light, and so like it has to be a person to connect with that and allow their soul to be reconnected, so they can be helped, right? So it's a process of there's a lot to be done when it comes to those kind of situations or things that have happened. But if it's an encounter in the woods, it's always you got to be ready to defend yourself, and like I said, if you have a weapon or anything like that, then be ready to defend yourself if it's a violent creature, But like I said, you have to usually have a weapon that's meant to deal with that, or an item that's meant to, right? It's like, sometimes you could shoot the unsayable thing 5 times or 10 times, or throw a whole magazine into it, 30 rounds, and nothing will happen. It'll keep running at you, or it'll scream so loud it'll blow your eardrums out, and freeze you in place, kind of deal. So there's these, you have to have certain type of weapons that can deal with them, and there's certain ways to deal with them. And you can't just go and think you're going to take a 42 MG in there and chain gun the whole forest and win, right? Like, some of these things won't even be affected by those bullets at all. So
we only have a few seconds left with you tonight. Tell everybody where they can find more information on you.
All right. Blue Lightning Cards on YouTube. I do some readings there and talk about spirituality there. I do plan to release more videos in time. As for my books, you can find them on Amazon, The Mars Bug Wars, and Pleiadian Guidance, which actually carries a lot of extraterrestrial beings. And
right on, Travis, thank you. As we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Call. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar, God himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in, at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyrighted by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
don't make a mistake. We're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. There we go. There we go. Rock and roll, everybody. Good to have you tonight, Trav.
Oh yeah, that was good, Dave. For allowing me to have the platform to share that knowledge and that information, and it's nice when I get to come on here and talk with all of y'all and share this moment of time in the universe, and it's an excellent time indeed.
All right. Well, Trav, we're going to say goodnight to you, and I'm going to say goodnight to our listeners quite quickly here because of the first intro snafu with my microphone. I got to go do some editing here, but we'll see you all tomorrow night, everybody, where my guest will be Brian Stavely. We're going to get into the Mandela effect. Thank you tonight to W. Decker, T-Bone, Jenny, JSCO, Deb, T-Bone, Monica, Melvin, and T-Bone for the hat trick. Good night, everybody. Thank you.